stop the wheel. I'm going to break the wheel.
Ultra Ninja JK, dupla jinxa, bota chakra em cada linha de faca. Faz macramé no micado, paz, espadas por frases. Sintático, repara no que digo, é paradigmático. Não tenho paralelo, sou para lá de mágico. Sabes como rolo, martelo pneumático. Técnica secreta do monstro roxo. Estamos a meter-nos no dojo, estamos a manter combos no jogo. Só com uma espada nos tojos. Plano picado, não sabes de onde esta ave vem. Nenhum radar pode detectar onde está a nave, mãe, tu sabes bem. Somos a clique, somos o clã. É Monster Jinx cabrão, respeito ao vais comer tartan. Na terra do nunca não digo banzai. Vivo na espelunca e tenho um bonsai. Ninja que é ninja, ninja, frotas imperiais. E bate mal, logo bate mais. A minha crew não sem espelhos. Na rua, dragão azul, dragão vermelho. Sento o silêncio. Verso shinobi, nunca me canso. Sou de Nairobi, ágil como um ninja. Rápido como um ninja, letal como um ninja. Brutal como um ninja, fatal como um ninja. Forte como um ninja, secreto como um ninja. Devo mesmo ser um ninja.
Esta é para os meus ninjas, só para os meus ninjas. Onde é que estão os meus ninjas, 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 ninjas. Esta é para os meus ninjas, só para os meus ninjas. Onde é que estão os meus ninjas, 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 ninjas.
And we are live, and a good evening, everyone out there. And I'm your host, the West Coast Ninja, and welcome to another installment of Ninja and Dog's Top 5 List. Joining me as usual tonight is none other than Dawg from the Dawg Show, the newly renamed Dawg Show, I would say. So what's going on, Dawg?
I got King Kong in the trunk. I just shouting out my buddy Rhodes. Yeah, great to see you, Rhodes. I was just saying hey to him. Yep, that's my new spot there, my friend. I was about to tell you and John, of course, though, too. But yeah, great to be here tonight, folks. The return of the Dawg Show is back, and I just said hello. So if you guys want to check out the new channel, same name, but yeah, I'm gonna revamp the Dawg Show, and that's what's happening. But great to be here with you here tonight, Milt, and we can talk about our top 10 worst moments of Game of Thrones. And this is going to be the history of Game of Thrones, the entire season 1 through season 8, right? I think back in the day we did maybe a WTF moments of 1 through 7, didn't we, Mel?
Yeah.
Now we get a chance to actually add in season 8 and say, hey, we're going to add the whole entire thing into the bucket here, and then you come out with your. And we needed a little bit more room tonight, so we're going with 10, folks.
Yeah, exactly. As Dawg mentioned, tonight we have a special extended. That's right, an extended version of the show. Okay, where we are listing our top 10. Okay, worst moments. Okay, WTF moments of just the Game of Thrones TV series. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I had a lot of fun just making this thing up. A lot of it was I used some stuff we did from last time. But I thought of some new stuff, especially with the season 8 ending, and what kind of issues that season, this particular past season had. You were bound to have some new stuff come in there. So was this list pretty fun for you, Dawg, making or?
It actually was. When you ran this by me, Milt, right away, I had 5 automatic. I was like, yeah, sure, of course I'll do a top 5 with you. I had 5 solid right on the top of my head. Right. And then I think I just started doing the templates up for my slides, and you came back and said, hey, you want to do 10? I'm like, oh, please, thank God, because there were just a lot of them that I still wanted to add. And even after 10, folks, there were still some on there that I just really I'll get to that tonight that I wanted to add into my list. But I'll definitely explain why certain ones are on my list and some didn't make it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Ed Sheeran didn't make it on my list, but he is on the thumbnail, and what could be better than having Ed Sheeran on a thumbnail in a Game of Thrones stream? Don't you think so, Dawg?
Absolutely, and folks, I don't, and to spoil the whole thing tonight, folks, Ed Sheeran did not make my list as well, which I believe he did make my list the last time. I'm almost positive of that. of him making the list last time, and I was very bummed out. Well, not so much bummed out that Ed Sheeran didn't make a list of mine, right? But at the same time, uh, I was very compassionate, and I felt very strongly about the other selections that I made that did go over Ed Sheeran. But I will say that Ed Sheeran showing up was a WTF moment for sure.
Yeah, and Ed Sheeran never gets old. Never, ever gets old. So, Dog, this is a stream on the Westeros Ninja channel, so what does that mean, usually for our next slide?
Folks, we're gonna get some trivia. We're gonna get some numbers, get some trivia. We're gonna get some education here tonight too.
All right, and guess what I found? I found basically episode and season rankings from seasons 1 through 8 of the Game of Thrones TV series, and guess what? The series finale is, according to IMDb, officially crowned the worst episodes of the entire Game of Thrones TV series. So what you have here in the table in the upper part of the picture is basically, you have your episodes in columns, and then you have your seasons, okay, in rows. And then if you look at season 8, you notice how none of the episodes actually hit into the yellow or the greens, right? It was really more in the orange and the reds, and means that was underneath 9, 8.5 roughly. And wow, look at the finale. Look at that response. Based on the viewers who participated in the poll that IMDb did, it rated an average of 5.2. If you look at the line charts, what you kind of see is essentially for seasons 1 through 7, mostly is really a trendward up as you get further and further into the season. So basically, the later episodes tend to do better than the early episodes for a season. But look at season 8, okay, right there. Wow, look at that guy. It just dropped like a cliff from episode 1 and 2 down into 3, 4, and 5, and 6. What does that mean, guys? What does it mean for you, Dog? Do you necessarily agree with the voters here from IMDb?
I'm pretty much in that, on that ship with them as well that sunk. That's pretty much the way I felt too. Was once we got past episode 2, I think, right, we had the drop off, right. We just said, hey, let's take the Nestea plunge right now, and I think I've mentioned before that some of my most hated episodes are hated. I would say at this point they're pretty much hated episodes now at this point, right? But at the time I was like, if I was ranking all the episodes, like I remember the finale, of course, right? The finale, I think I mentioned it right here on this channel that I said that this is the worst episode that I've ever seen in the history of Game of Thrones. Like out of all 73 episodes, episode 73 is the worst episode I've ever seen.
Well, evidently
I
you
definitely agree with the voters. I noticed that we have some peaks there around those. When we had those awesome episode 9s and things of that nature, and the great finales, season finales, or afterward. I think that's what's leading us into our peaks there on our previous seasons. But
yeah, to me, there appears to be some really, some form of a heavy duty backlash against the show in general in season 8, because in seasons 1 through 7, again, you look at the trends in the line graph there. It just basically it holds pretty steady with a very slight trend up in terms of how the viewers rate the episodes, right? It's very consistent, okay, across all seasons. Okay, there is a bit of a blip right there in season
5, I'd imagine.
That's actually 5. Yeah, season 5.
I'd imagine that's season 5, episode 6. That's my guess.
Yeah, the Doran episode, right? Unbound, Unbent, Unbroken. Yeah, but even then, it picks up at the end, right? So it follows that same trend, just kind of slightly going up. But man, look at season 8. That is incredible. The actual divergence.
We didn't. And to go back to your season 8 point here, Milt, right? We had that, we had that not so great episode with with Dorne. But at the same time, they follow it up with, in 2 episodes later with Hardhome, probably the best episode that the show has ever had.
Yeah,
was Hardhome, in my opinion, right?
Yep.
They didn't do that in this season, right? They had that drop off with the, because a lot of folks just couldn't see the episode for for episode 3, you know, for season 8, episode 3, they had a rough time just seeing the episode. And they never had that follow-up hard home episode, right? That brought them back, right?
Yeah,
As far as their opinion and their critique of the show.
Yeah,
of course, there was more viewers, right? Everybody, you know, pretty much everybody and their grandma was watching the finale, right?
There just wasn't enough episodes in the season for them to recover. But man, if you just look at the pure number, that's a heavy duty dip. Where on average across seasons 1 through 7, you're basically averaging roughly about a 9, 8.9 rating per episode, and boom, you're down into the 6s and 5s, by the time you hit episodes 4, 5, and 6 of season 8. It's just crazy. I wonder if it was just backlash against the hype. It was just so hyped, that this season was going to be the last, that everybody just expected, the episodes to be completely mind blowing, and they were in for a big disappointment, because no matter what HBO or the writers could have done, they could have never met those expectations. I think they could have done a little bit better, but right. I don't think you could have met the expectations of all the people that were going to watch the final season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I agree with that somewhat. Yeah, I think a lot of folks, well, even myself, I felt that way too. I was like, you folks had 2 years, to come up with, probably what could have been the greatest show in the history of television right now. And, really, looking at seasons 1 through 7, it possibly was. If you just took those 7 seasons in a plastic bag or whatever, right? And, it was on pace to be the greatest television show in the history of forever, right? And then season 8 just made it another television show. When you look at season 8, if you just watch season 8 by itself, it's just another television show.
Yeah.
Or it's not, it's not like something like where they're going to bring Lord of the Rings on screen or something like that and make, Oscar worthy stuff, if you will.
Yeah, for sure, Dog. And also, what's interesting too, which what I like, is to look at the really high scores, like the 9.9s. Okay, and they're shaded in the cyan color here, and the 9.9 scores, generally correlate to basically the consensus best favorite episodes of the entire series. Season 3, episode 9, Red Wedding, right? Season 5, episode 8, Hard Home. Season 6, episode 9, Battle of the Bastards. I'm not a big fan of it, but a lot of people are. So, it's a very popular episode. And also season 6, episode 10, The Winds of Winter. It's a 9.9. So, those are definitely, deserving episodes in terms of the popularity. So, it's, to me, it's pretty interesting that at least, it follows the consensus in terms of the general population, in terms of what they feel like their favorite episodes and or best episodes are in the entire series, Dog. So anyway, thanks a lot for the comments, and I just found this really interesting. I think this is a really great chart to basically end off with in terms of any kind of Game of Thrones streams that we do from now on. So cool. So are you ready to get down with our list, Dog?
I think we are. Well, I'm ready. Are you ready, Milt?
Oh, I'm totally ready.
Are everybody in the chat ready? Are we all stoked for the worst moments in the history of Game of Thrones? And again, real quickly, folks, this is a culmination of all the seasons from season 1 through season 8. The worst moments, our top 10, right? So that's the bag we could pick from, was the whole entire season, and these are the choices that we had.
Yep, and also we cannot take a moment literally here. Okay, it doesn't mean just 60 seconds. It could be like a 1 second scene, or it could be like an hour-long, storyline. Okay, that's what we're considering a moment. Okay, so don't take it literally, but it's just kind of like the worst kind of things that we saw in the Game of Thrones TV series here. So with that, okay, we have no honorable mentions. We're just going to go straight into our top 10. And since Dog is the visiting team, he gets to go first with his number 10.
Do it.
Mountain, do it.
TK421, why aren't you at your post? TK421, do you copy? You've got a bad transmitter. Somebody get down there. But yeah, this was just a WTF moment, folks. And again, I think Milton and I will concede that Ed Sheeran was our honorable mention here tonight, right?
Yeah.
It's the honorable mention, right?
Well,
But
I mean, he's actually the man of honor considering that he is on the thumbnails.
and now I want to preface this by saying that if you're around the Game of Thrones community, around the YouTube community, Twitters, and all that kind of stuff, everybody was hyped for Dorne. I mean, in between season 4 through season 5, right in between that time of those seasons, that's where everybody was everybody was kind of hyped for the Dorne process and what was going on with Dorne, right? And how great and amazing Dorne was going to end up being, right? And Dorne, at the time before season 8 arrived, right? Dorne was probably one of the most, not so liked things on the show, right? I would say that, and Milt showed the numbers as far as how folks felt about Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken, right? Before season 8 had arrived, right? But this was a simple copy of when Han Solo and Luke Skywalker dressed up like stormtroopers on the Death Star, right? And also I also threw in the picture of the Wizard of Oz there too, when the Tin Man and Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion dressed up as the witches soldiers too, and try to go save Dorothy, right? It was just kind of a culmination of that. Even a little bit of Sam and Frodo when they dressed up like orcs to go, take the ring to Mount Doom a little bit, right there. So there's just a little bit. It just ended up being something we'd seen before, right? And we'll probably see again, right? But it wasn't. And again, the stuff I prefaced was the hype surrounding what was going to go on with Dorne at the time, folks. This was a WTF moment. It was just, oh, we're going to save the princess, right? And I mean that's what was going on, right? And then this is the drop off when you just felt like at any moment this great show that you had watched for up until this point could just be another television show. It could just be another television show that I don't watch. I don't watch a lot of television shows, right? I don't, because first off, commercials, things of that nature, right? I watched Game of Thrones just because it was special to me, right? The characters, the world, everything surrounding that, and stuff like this to me just felt like another TV show. Mel, how'd you feel about this?
Well, I mean, I don't really have the best of feelings towards the whole Dorn plot in general in the TV series. Especially in the show, because the pairing of Jamie and Bronn was just so forced. I mean, there was nothing like it in the books. It didn't need to be there. It seemed like it had to be there only because Bronn's a very popular actor and character, to show viewers, and Jamie's one of the top 5, right? The big 5, if you will, of the TV show. So he had to do something, okay? So put those two together and assemble Dorne was basically Dan and Dave's solution to basically using these popular actors, if you will. This reminded me of? It reminded me of freaking that movie Rush Hour with Jackie Chan and the other guy. What was his name? Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what he did after Rush Hour, but Chris Tucker, right? Essentially, and this is what it was. It was basically a buddy cop movie. Okay, that was all Dorne was. It was It was Rush Hour where they had to capture the princess and bring her back because she was being held hostage in Dorne. Essentially, that's what it was. This was Rush Hour part Westeros.
It just felt like another television show.
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't great for sure. It was not great. But I can see why this is in her top 10.
I just think that the hype surrounding Dorne at the time was a little stronger than, and again, Ed Sheeran showing up was WTF, but this was something that was special to the book readers and things of that nature. I know that for sure because I was around that time watching it unfold.
Yeah. All right, so we might get Dorne back later on, guys, but now it's my turn. And my number 10, it has to be the Dragon Deal done wrong. And this was in the season finale of season 3, and starring none other than Krasny's Mo Knacklaws, okay, who has to be like the freaking worst salesman of all time, okay, and businessman of all time. I mean, think about what this guy was doing, right? He was mocking his customer in a language that he thinks that she doesn't understand. Then sells her an army, right? That's more powerful than anything else in the city, okay? And the most crazy thing is that he didn't have any bodyguards, or he didn't have like a he wasn't wearing any kind of bulletproof vest like Nomex or Kevlar or anything else like that, to protect himself. So what happens to this guy, okay? He has no guards, he has no collateral, but to him, it's no problem. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to sell my whole entire army, of fully trained soldiers, okay, slave soldiers, of course, to this unknown Targaryen girl with 3 dragons, for a dragon, and then everything be really cool. No, whereas, okay, all right, guy, where's your protection? So what happens? He sells her the dragon. The dragon goes up, and then, flies around, and then, then Daenerys Targaryen admits that she does, know for the High Valyria, and then she's been listening to him basically insulting her for the last 30 minutes or whatever, and boom, he gets burnt with the Dracarys sign. A lot of people think that this was like a totally triumphant moment for Daenerys, in terms of her development as a character, right? Because this is where she becomes badass with the whole Dracarys thing and dragons burning people. But to me, it's more about how stupid of a businessman Krasny's Mo Knacklaws was. He should have never put himself in that situation as any kind of slave master, if you will, would, right? I mean, he basically explained like how the Unsullied were trained, right, and created to Daenerys. Okay, he should know that nobody likes him. He should know that the minute that his army gets basically given to somebody else, people will start turning against him. He should have a lot of protection, but no, he just goes up, holds a dragon on a leash, gets spellbound, because he sees the dragon flying, and boom, gets burned to a crisp. So bad dragon deal, man, bad dragon deal. So I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I definitely see your points here, Milton. Because there was a few things I didn't understand about that, like prior to going into it, actually, right? The meeting that because this guy was such a tyrant, and just like you're saying, how he told her how the Unsullied come about, right, and how he cut the nipple off the one guy, right, and it was just like, nah, we'll do this anyway. Watch, he has no fear, he has no pain, all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's basically Cobra Kai, right? Mm-hmm. And he's just doing it to egg Dany on, but I think that he just I think the show is trying to kind of make you feel like, oh, he feels like there's nothing that she can do to antagonize him or threaten him or anything like that. So he's got his guard down. But at that point, I was like, Dany, what are you even doing in this area with this guy, talking to him, right? You have no army right now, right? Yeah. It's just like, maybe it was just because there's some codes and things of that nature. If this guy were to attack Dany or something, that people might rise up. But I mean, she didn't have like a super bad. She had to buy an army at this point, right? Yep. So it was things like that that didn't make sense, So I definitely see your points here. The only thing I just this was the moment in my Game of Thrones history that solidified me as a Game of Thrones fan forever at the time, right? Where I took the plunge and said, right now, because after this was all said and done, and Dany came out there and was just like, badala, 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 right? And she was just like, spitting out that High Valyrian. I was just like, yeah, get him, Dany, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Krasny's was a total scumbag. Everybody knew he was a scumbag, so everyone wanted him to die, right? Yeah, but man, like, to rise up in the position of being like a slave master and like the creator of the Unsullied, and not to have any kind of protection, think about it this way: if you were a big time drug dealer, right, and you were selling like a bunch of your drugs to some unknown foreigner, say from South America, okay, wouldn't you have some protection with you to make sure that the deal gets done correctly?
I do like Jack Nicholson probably and The Departed.
Okay.
No, I'd probably bring some protection.
Yeah, or maybe you do like, what those guys in Trainspotting did, right? Just basically meet up in a hotel room. Just, I mean, yeah, train spotting references. Yeah, anyway, whatever. All
You
right.
remember the end of that, man, when the Unsullied started marching and you heard the music and stuff like that? Weren't you just kind of pumped a little bit? Weren't you just like, man, I'm so happy
Yeah.
to be a Game of Thrones fan right now?
Yeah, it was okay, I guess. But, again, it's generally considered to be one of the Daenerys Targaryen's triumphant moments or her first triumphant moment. So I can get how people love this scene. I just thought it was just, you know, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of crazy that I saw that, a top-notch salesman like, businessman like Krasny's would go down like such a chump. That's all.
Right. Yeah, I definitely see your points for sure, my friend. I definitely see why it's on the list.
All right.
I had questions about it, again, like, how is it this guy is so evil? You'd think he would just, capture Danny or something right at the point. So,
Yep. So let's go into our number nine. Number nine. Number nine.
number
And
nine.
Dog.
Number nine. Oh, wow, we're back to Dorne here, folks. And folks, I want to preface this by saying that, yeah, I've always called Aryo Hoda the crumb bum of Game of Thrones, right? That's my little video game reference there, right? Because this dude, again, when I talked about the last slide, I talked about Dorne, right? And how it was hyped up. And everybody was talking about Dorne, this and that. And Arya Hoda is such a freaking amazing fighter. And I can't wait to see Arya Hoda and Arya Hoda this and Arya Hoda that. And Arya Hoda's awesome, the axe guy, right? He gets destroyed by a level 1 noob, right? I mean, like a level 1 noob, right? I mean, just one shot, he's done, right? It's over. And I'm just going, that was the end of Arya Hoda, right? He's just a crumb bum. He's kind of like that friend you have, right? That buys all the DLC gear, right?
Yep.
He buys the +1 axe, right? But he has no idea, all the armor and all that stuff too. But then when it comes time for battle, the first hit, you got to put another quarter in the machine, right? So that's what happened to Arya Hoda. So the running joke was I always called him a crumb bum. So, but yeah, that was a WTF moment for sure. And again, this is bigger than Ed Sheeran, right? I just think it's bigger than Ed Sheeran because this was like, he's somewhat of a decent character in the books, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And obviously, because this whole community was kind of talking about Arya Hoda and Dorne and all the stuff that was going to happen, and this is his ending. This was his ending, right? And it's a WTF moment for sure. That was how he goes out by I believe you called it a letter opener.
Yep. Essentially, yeah. I mean, basically, Bad Pussy killed him with a letter opener. Essentially, I mean, that's how he died.
Not fighting for his ruler, or the person he pledged his life to, or something in some epic fashion, right? With some Dornish music in the background or something like that. No, he just goes out like.
Yep, a level 1 noob, right? Essentially, is what this guy is, a level 1 noob. So would this be like a level 1 character who's really weak in a video game, or would it be like a level 1 player who's just starting out in a video game?
This is a level 1 player starting out, right?
Okay.
But I think he bought all the DLC gear and all that stuff, all the he bought like the super axe and all that stuff, right? But as soon as he hopped into PvP with like a maybe a semi-good player here.
Okay.
One hit and it was over. Right? He just blew probably $120 for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like so if this was a game of Punch Out, would Arya be like Glass Joe, or he'd be like worse than Glass Joe?
Would Arya?
Yeah.
He'd be worse than Glass Joe because I think the fastest I ever beat Glass Joe, and this was like on the coin operated, was maybe 27 seconds.
Okay.
26 or no, I take that back. Yeah, it's probably like 24, I think. But you had to do something like completely perfectly timed or whatever. But that was like the fastest. And this guy goes down in, what do you think, Milt? Maybe 1.5 seconds?
Yeah. I mean, it took about a second for Bad Pussy to plunge that letter opener into the side of his back, right? And then he goes down like really slowly, like so I think maybe 2 to 3 seconds before it crumbles onto the floor. So yeah.
Whereas
So but
Glass Joe could stick around for until you could get to your power punches, right?
yeah.
So She didn't even have to power up though. She just, you know, right hook. That's it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Only thing you need to do is just press one button, right? That punch button on punch, and down he went.
Yep.
Hey, for all you guys who don't know, the Punch Out reference is a great 1980s boxing game. Make sure you look it up. Punch Out, awesome game. Glass Joe was the first character you had to fight, and then the second guy was Piston Hurricane,
Piston
and the
Hurricane.
third guy was some Mr. T looking guy. I forgot his name.
Ball Bull.
There you go. You got it. What was the name? Mo?
Ball Bull
Bald Bull. You got
from
it.
Turkey, I think.
All right. Not exactly the most politically correct of all video games, but it sure was pretty darn fun to play. All
Yeah,
right.
like the guy from Italy was Pizza Pasta.
And let's go to my number 9. So Dog's number 9, none other than Oreo Crumbum Oreo cookies. And my number 9 was the nerfing of 1-1. We're gonna talk about more about video game analogies here. And you know what nerfing is, right? Nerfing is when you have a character that's really strong in the beginning because the software developers, made a mistake and made him really powerful, or maybe, the story writers of the video game thought that this guy had to be powerful, but when it came time to implementation, he was just way too powerful of a character to beat, like a big boss, if you will, right? And then I think basically D&D realized that 1-1 was just way too powerful, so towards the progression of this character and the progressions of the series from seasons 5 to 6, he became steadily weaker and weaker until he actually became a big, gigantic, mutant, oversized pincushion at the end. Okay, and what is going on with this? I mean, how can some guy, some badass giant, go from being like this big white destroyer, right, with a big flaming tree, just basically just blasting and knocking out whites left and right with that big, tree trunk branch that he has, right? Flaming wise, like 20 at a time. And then he goes and fights barehanded against the Boltons in the Battle of the Bastard. I mean, there are a bunch of trees in the back, right? I mean, where he actually lined up. See that big forest there? He could have picked up a freaking tree about the size of the tree that he was swinging against the whites at Hardhome, and could just basically knock down the boat and shoot wall and saved a lot of whites. But he didn't do that. Instead, he got spared and had arrows punched into him, no problem. He was still able to rip apart soldiers in that one scene. But at the end, what happens to him? He becomes a big, gigantic pincushion. Okay. And this is another thing that bugs me about this scene. Why didn't Ramsey just shoot an arrow into John and just kill him at that point? But no, he wants to kill 1-1 with an arrow through an eye. His only weakness, 1-1's weakness, guys, is his eye. Sort of like the white giant against Liana Mormont. How do you kill a giant? Poke him in the eye, evidently.
Yeah.
So, that's my issue with the nerfing of 1-1. I thought this was a weak way for 1-1 to die here, considering how beloved the character was and how powerful and badass he was when you first saw him, and basically how he just ended up just being a total chump at the end, with a bunch of pins poking out of him.
Yeah, it was definitely. I think it was. The way he went out was. The way they set it up was just to kind of hit our emotional heartstrings there, of course, right? I mean, yeah, we're seeing 1-1 absolutely hurt. He's an absolute pincushion at this point. And it was a way for other folks, Ramsey fans, to be like, look, Ramsey Bolton, he took down 1-1. He beat a giant, right? But, yeah, why didn't he just, fire at John there at that point? But it was just to get that emotional hit those emotional heartstrings, which they did, right? Of course. I mean, yeah. Who didn't hate Ramsey even more when he put that final shot into John or into 1-1, excuse me, right? And then you were just all the more satisfied when you saw John just pounding on him, right?
I mean, how many arrows do you think was in 1-1 by the time he died?
I dare say more than Boromir in the book version.
Yeah, I mean, he had at least like 50. I think my grandma had a set of pins and a pin cushion, and she had maybe max 15 of them. And 1-1 had a lot more pins. So.
Digging through, thinking maybe there's a dozen, there's at least 50 or so.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I'm sure he like pulled some of them out, right, when he was running out to Winterfell after the battle.
But yeah, seriously, he was just doing very well in Hardhome with that, tree trunk or whatever, and
Yeah.
all those trees out there. And then out of all those super
Trees,
geniuses,
guys, trees.
the war tacticians, things of that nature, smiths, things of that nature, nobody thought of, hey, you know what? We should maybe build or maybe make some armor for one. He might be a nice ally to keep around because he's a freaking giant, and we're the only people that have a giant, right? I mean, maybe we should protect him somehow, right? But yeah, nobody thought of a way to protect 1-1. And
Yeah, sad ending. Very, very sad ending for a giant. But
definitely a
man, I mean,
W.
imagine how many northern soldier lives that he could have saved by just basically picking up a tree trunk in that forest, behind them where they're all lined up, and basically just swatted away those Bolton soldiers.
Oh,
Would they have even needed Sansa and the Vale Knights if
I think
one
yeah,
just
with
picked up
one of
a
his
tree
swings, he
trunk?
could have been,
Yeah.
kind of like the cavalry.
Yeah.
He could have just kind of spun around. They could have made like a sit and spin type of, or like a carousel type of deal for him. He could just spun around on it.
Yeah.
With like the scythe or something. They could have they could have gave him. They could have done so many different things.
You know what they could have done? Yeah, in the Winterfell courtyards. Remember that one training dummy with his hands out this and it spun around?
Yeah, it would have been like
yeah. I mean, one could be like one like one of those training dummies with like tree trunks and just basically spinning around. Just basically hitting all those Bolton soldiers as he spun around like a top.
And then he had 2 trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, we're not writing for HBO, unfortunately.
Yeah, so the nerfing of 1-1. That is right. So thanks a lot, guys, for coming out again. Fat Dingo, Linda R, Living My Rhapsody, OTDA, the Granite Person. Who else have we got here? Rhodes Rants. And Peter Griffin, John Del Vento. And thanks a lot, guys, for stopping by on your Sunday evenings and sharing it with us. So I think we're in number 8 now. Crazy 8.
Oh, I don't know if I have a song for number 8 right now.
You guys still talking about Glass Joe? I mean, we talked about that 10 minutes ago. Are we really that late in terms of the how the delay is?
Might be.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Well, we are on OBS a little bit, probably like 5 seconds or something.
5 seconds late, but we were talking about Punch Out, Glass Joe, Piston Hurricane, and Bald Bull like 10 minutes ago. So that's man, granted, TGP is kind of late in the game here. So let's get into our number 8, why don't we? And Scrubs, welcome there, and Felicia, go for it.
Oh wow, this is crazy, folks. There's something on my list from season 8 here. Yeah, and what just happened here, right? I just, for 8 seasons or 7 seasons, forever, right? They'd been hyping up this Clegane Bowl, right? Clegane Bowl, and obviously it was just, we all knew. I mean, seriously, who did not think that those two were gonna meet and face off at the when the whole show was over, right? Right, when the whole at the season finale, this is when I knew that this was going to happen. I knew it was going to go down at the season finale, right? But like for the whole entire time, the whole run, through the being in the community, things of that nature, watching the different streamers and stuff and all that, this was always such a big hype thing, right? This was always Clegane Bowl is going to happen, Clegane Bowl is going to happen, right? And when it did finally happen, this is what we got. This is what this, in my opinion, right? This is what we got. I got Sandor Clegane versus Jason Voorhees. And I was very happy to use the picture from Friday the 13th in Super 3D that I did see at the theater, where Jason first donned the hockey mask, right? And he was using the machete pretty good. But this was actually in 3D, folks. I think maybe around probably mid 1980s or something. Stranger Things time, right? So, but anyway, this is what we got. We didn't get like an awesome fight with, like with a couple of just old school knights, right? And just getting into just showing their skills, as knights and stuff like that. We basically just got a slasher film, kind of WWE, kind of a mix, right? I was unimpressed by it, right? The music was beautiful, right? But I don't let the music and the visuals and all that stuff just kind of mask what I'm actually seeing on screen here, right? Now, if this was like in the Evil Dead or something, right, or Army of Darkness, right, that would have worked for me, or like in a Friday the 13th movie, it would have worked, right? But this was one of my favorite characters of all time, right? And the way he went out, I just was not. I just thought it was cheesy. I was like, this is just Friday the 13th to me, right? They just turned him into Jason Voorhees here, just a little close quarters combat thing. They had the thing with Cersei, right? Just so you could get a chuckle out of it, right? So ha ha ha, hey, we're funny guys over here that write. We had Cersei kind of go by, and it's funny, right? So you should love us because of that, right? But I saw what this was for what it was, right? This was just some cheesy B movie horror film type of stuff, right? It was stuff that I'd seen on other TV shows, or I'd seen back in the 80s with my 3D sunglasses, right?
So hey, with in this scene, did Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th movies, did he ever kill somebody like how he killed Kyburn, but just basically grabbing like a guy's head and basically smashing him against the wall?
Well, yeah, he threw somebody through a trailer once. Like, you were on
All
the
right.
other side of the trailer and you saw
Okay.
the dude's face imprint through the trailer.
Yeah, because I was kind of wondering about that because again, Kyburn was definitely another kind of pointless death there. I mean, imagine
Like,
like no, imagine Kyburn like who created this monster man, or whatever you want to call him, the mountain, the zombified mountain, right? And the zombified mountain was basically like kind of like this automaton, right? Who's basically following orders for 3 seasons, right? Until this one scene, and all of a sudden he decides not to follow orders anymore. It went totally out of character and was totally inconsistent with how the zombie mountain was being portrayed. Perhaps that seeing his brother triggered some sort of weird weird hidden emotion in him, and then he can stop himself by basically fighting his brother. But if his primary duty was to protect the queen, right? He sure picked a really bad time, basically, to not follow those orders and decided to basically, fight his brother. So, the scene itself. I mean, if they were gonna fight, it may as well have been that kind of scene, while where he. Where the Hound wanted to find his brother and kill him for whatever reason, and 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 it was King's Landing was burning down, so maybe it was just kind of like these one of these epic fights that just had to have been forced upon the viewers, because everybody demanded a final Hound versus Mountain kind of fight. Yeah, but I guess if it had to be done, I guess why not do it while King's Landing is burning down, because the whole show is pretty much burning down at that time. But it was okay, but it probably could have been done better. In fact, I probably would have not even cared if it wasn't in the show at all, because it really wasn't important or integral to the entire story.
I think it would have been better if they would have had,
Yeah.
like, Hound was there or something. He was like trying to save Ari or something, right? And like this guy tries to impede his like the mountain impedes their progress as opposed to the Hound trying to impede theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And because he just got done telling Arya, "You're gonna die if you stay here." Well, then why are you staying here too? Everybody's gonna die up there, including your brother. Why are you even going up there? You should, pack up with Arya, get on Shadowfax, and go eat some chicken. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
but no, they wanted to show us this scene. So, but I was happy that I got to show off Jason Voorhees here tonight. And real quickly, Milt, I forgot to say that how you asked if Jason ever killed anybody like that. I do remember one of the funniest one was when he, I think it was when Jason takes Manhattan. That might be like part 8, right? When he goes to Manhattan and there's this boxer or kickboxer guy, right? And he gets all tired after he's punching Jason so many times. But
Yeah, it was that karate expert or whatever he was. Yeah.
he just punches him in his head, just like he just decapitates him just by punching him.
Okay. Yeah, see, I mean, the only scene that I remember from this Friday the 13th movies was like, I think Friday the 13th Part 6, right? It could be, I think it was part 6 where he was in the bottom of the lake, right? And then there was a big storm, and somehow the electricity from the storm, the lightning bolt from the storm, hit some chain up on the surface of the lake, and the electricity then transferred down that chain into the water, and basically into Jason. And
Jason
then
lived, I
yeah,
think.
and then Jason got reanimated from
Yeah, he
that.
killed Horseshack, right? Remember Horseshack from Welcome Back, Kotter?
I don't remember. It was something like that.
Yeah,
You're
he
going,
killed
how?
Horseshack.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out how electricity can conduct in water through a chain. But anyway, that's something else completely different. So,
Yeah, it would be
anyway,
kind of, yeah, because it would probably just go towards the water or
yeah,
go
yeah,
up.
or just diffuse out. Yeah, it would just diffuse out. So, but somehow it was able to conduct through a chain underneath water. But it's Jason Voorhees, so anything to basically reanimate him is always a good thing because they make millions and millions of dollars from it. So yeah, so Jason Voorhees versus the Hound. Missed opportunity, missed opportunity here, dog. Why couldn't Arya and the Hound have stopped by Hot Pies Inn on the way down to King's Landing?
Something that
It
was
has
the
some
thing that
chicken.
where we as fans got kind of
Hmm.
robbed as far as like them kind of rushing through, just giving us six episodes, right? We didn't get like maybe just one more scene of Hound and Arya together on their way to King's Landing, where they just kind of stop by an inn or maybe have an encounter with somebody, right? Just
Yeah.
kind of give us a little bit of what we got in season 4, what we'd all been
Hmm.
wanting, right? But this fight was so overhyped
Hmm.
for years, and I mean years, folks. I mean it was for what we ended up getting by the end of it. And again, the music was beautiful, the visuals were wonderful too. But I'd already seen Denethor jump, off the tower in Minas Tirith there, right? So I'd already seen a scene like that. So, um, yeah, I mean, music was beautiful, the visuals were
True.
beautiful, of course, but what's inside is not cooked.
Great analogy with the Denethor uh, comment there. That was a great analogy. But was he on fire when he
Right?
jumped off?
Yeah. Peter Jackson wanted to figure out. He said, "I don't care. I want a scene where we see Denethor jumping from that tower, right? Because they were like, there's no way he would be able to make it from the pyre all
Yeah.
the way there, but it just looks amazing,
It
right?"
looks cool, yeah. And there you guys have it. There's nothing like a death than being on fire and jumping off a 200-foot building. So let's get into our next slide here. So it's my number 8 now. So and it is the Night of the Living Dead. And what bugged me about this, besides it was shot so dark that I couldn't even see what was going on, on my TV, was the fact is that how can you have skeletons who have been laying in these crypts for thousands and thousands of years, right, or hundreds of years, all of a sudden, solidify themselves so much that when they reanimate, they can punch through solid stone coffins. How can that be done, guys? I mean, they're dust by now, okay? And yeah. You can make the argument that maybe they were in the shallowest levels of the crypts. Maybe these are the recent deads or whatever, right? But again, you can't have these skeletons, okay, made out of calcium, right? It's basically calcium phosphate is what bones are made out of, right? Punching through solid stone. Granite person should know about this, okay? This is probably hardened limestone or actually even granite. Coffins here is probably limestones, my guess, because if you look at my video on Winterfell, I talk all about limestone and granite in there. So, but it's probably limestone. But even then, calcium phosphate is actually less hard than than limestone, especially cemented limestone, or less dense. So you couldn't be able to punch through it. So that didn't make any sense to me. I didn't like it one bit. I thought that was really, really hokey. This reminded me of basically Night of the Living Dead, okay, or Return of the Dead, or what was the other one? Revenge of the Dead,
Poltergeist.
or the Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead, right? There was like Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Return of the Dead, I think. Living Dead, or something like that, or not Return. God, what was that third movie? Dawn of the Dead.
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. Thank you very much. So there you go. So yeah. So I didn't like it one bit. I thought it was really hokey. It didn't make any sense. It absolutely had no bearing into the storyline whatsoever in episode 3. It was just something for, the Sansa fans to go, woo, Sansa's gonna die! Sansa's gonna die! And that was pretty much it. So, that was my number 8. What do you think, Dog?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This was WTF. There should have been something where we actually saw, Sansa have to stab something, or Tyrion needs to fend for his life. Varys needs to do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even the little girl that we saw getting soup or a bowl of brown from Sir Davos, right, the week before, right? Do something, right? But no, this was, again, folks, there were scenes that just they didn't feel like the core Game of Thrones that we got before, right? And this was one of them. This is where it feels like it's just another TV show, right? This is just another creepy, Tales from the Crypt, right? You remember Tales from the Crypt?
Shock value.
This reminded me. I'm sorry.
I mean, this is pure shock value, right?
Right, and it kind of reminded me of Poltergeist a little bit too, when all the bodies were coming out too, right? But how do they punch right through the granite like that, or and the rock, and they have no muscle; they're just bone.
Bones, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of it just didn't make a lot of sense to me here. And again, I think it was just for shock value, and I'd imagine a lot of us felt that way too. Why would you want to hang out with dead people, right? When this dude he reanimates the dead, right?
But even then, that question shouldn't even matter to me, because there's no freaking way that these guys. This is dust and bones here.
That safe fail of fail safe. Excuse me, I'm backward tonight, right? But that fail safe of, hey, they're inside this rock. There's no way they can get out, right? But somehow they have Superman power now.
Yeah, I mean, they have more powers than Arya Stark, evidently, And the thing is, I was really embarrassed when I saw the scene because I remember the rumors about the crypt, they're gonna be hanging out in the crypts of Winterfell and all these dead people are gonna be there, and I was trying to make an argument. How can they escape? How can they escape? Okay, because they're dust and bones. They can't break through the granite coffins. But no, D&D had to put in the scene anyway, and I felt really mad about it personally.
I got it right now, Mill. Right here on this channel, folks, tonight, Dawg has come up with how they got out. Are you ready for it? These were all students of Pai Mei. These were all students of Pai Mei, right? And he taught them all the 1 inch.
This?
Yeah. What if your enemy is 1 inch in front of you, right? All these were former students of Pai Mei or his ancestors, right? And they know how Pai Mei operates, and they know how to get out, even if they are just bone, right? Because these are Pai Mei students.
Yeah, but then Pai Mei students only can get out of like wooden coffins.
Yeah,
but that doesn't matter, right? That doesn't matter. Hey, you're muted, I think.
I was kind of whispering. I was being funny. I was trying to be funny. I don't know if I was. Looks like somebody's laughing though. All
right. So I didn't like this scene one bit, man. I mean, this was like, it was horrible. I mean, it basically insults, I think, people's intelligence. Okay, but also it was gratuitous. Okay, and not needed in the episode whatsoever. Other than the fact that maybe there was some entertainment value of seeing a couple of your most favorite characters being put in danger. But even that's kind of a gratuitous reason for having this kind of scene in there. So
it wasn't like Sansa was super loved. I don't think.
Oh, everybody loves Sansa.
Sansa, but I didn't, What
about Gilly? Everybody loves Gilly.
Yeah. Was Gilly even down there? What happened to Gilly?
Yeah, she was there. No, she was holding Shireen 2.0.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Remember Shireen 2.0?
But I wasn't concerned for Gilly, though.
I was concerned for Shireen 2.0 then, though.
Oh, yeah, that little girl. I was afraid she was gonna get turned into a white. I wanted her to be the new Lyanna Mormont.
Well, I mean, she ended up being tougher than Lyanna Mormont at the end, right? Didn't she survive?
Yeah, she made it through. Lyanna Mormont didn't.
All right, so let's go to number 7 for Dog.
7 Up. Yes, and this is my number 7 here, folks, is entitled "The Brick That Was Promised." Right, because what I thought was, the greatest television villain of all time, right? The J.R. Ewing of our generation, right? The Wicked Witch of the West, the Darth Vader of our generation, Cersei Lannister, was defeated by a brick, right? And that's how she went out, right? I mean, it was the most. I think that upset me more. And this is why I was like, this has to make my list, right? Cersei, the way Cersei goes out, right? They're basically, and this kind of just an undertone of, what she really did in season 8. Like, what does she even do in season 8 other than really stare out a window a few times, right? They'll be like, "Hey, why don't you? I think we should leave. I think we should leave." And she just like, no, and she just stares out the window, right? Like the whole entire season. Sometimes she puts her hand on her tummy to kind of make you feel like she's pregnant or something, right? And then she's a brilliant actress. She's one of my favorite actresses of all time, right? And she does an awesome performance, of course, for what they give her. For the final scene with Jamie and things of that nature, right? But all in all, when we get done with this, she's this great villain we had. She stares out a window after making us wait 2 years for this show, right? They had us waiting for 2 years. They have Lena Headey, right? Who's probably the best actor on the show, right? And they have her staring out a freaking window for the whole entire season, right? And then they have her defeated by a brick. Right. And then and the way it's done is so terrible because, I mean, gosh, if she would have just maybe moved over to the left or the right or something like that, she might have missed out on those getting hit by that brick. Right. But
actually, I have comments on that later on one of my slides about being hit by bricks.
So
but
I was a little upset by the way Cersei was treated and the way that character went out. I'll give it over to you, Milt. What do you feel?
So did Lena Headey get an Emmy nomination?
Absolutely, she did.
For staring out the window the whole season.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring that up possibly later. I have a list of all the nominees.
Yeah, because I definitely have some comments, some choice comments about some of these nominations.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do too.
I mean, it's too bad how these two main characters, who were central to the politics of King's Landing, right, which was a storyline that everybody loved when they first was introduced to the show, basically ended up dying, which was basically being buried by a couple of bricks. And and it's really all I can say about this, because I have a lot more to say about this later on. So it's I wish they would have went out. I wish they would have went out not together, but separately. But I get the whole plot line of they came into the world together, so they had to leave the world together. That kind of story, but. It was over by then. Jamie, the way he left Brienne was kind of stupid. But, I mean, it was actually forced, right? That's the only way that he would have ended up being in King's Landing, okay, was to stupidly leave, Brienne and to basically ride down to take, to give protection to Cersei in her final days, whatever. Right? That's what I'm going to say, because I'm kind of ranting about this, and
that's fine. This is where the healing begins, Milt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, granite person, you should look at my video, okay? Basically, Winterfell, the outer wall is made out of granite. The inner wall is made out of gray stone, which is basically suspected to be limestone. Basically, it's a gray rock. Okay, it's basically kind of a limestone mud, if you will, stone. So. Get into it. I get into how the limestones and granites are formed too in that video. If you're really interested in the science behind how the rocks form. So good geology plug. Thank you, granite person, for mentioning basically the walls and the stones of Winterfell. So let's go
I'm
ahead.
sure it's an outstanding video, and it was an awesome live stream if I remember right too.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. And let's get into my number 7. And this isn't a moment, but it's the entire freaking episode, okay? Basically, season 5, episode 10, Mother's Mercy. And think about all the crazy events that happened in this show, okay? The first thing, okay, Ollie stabs John. Ollie, of all people, puts in the killing blow into John. Then he got shame, shame, shame. Where did that come from, okay? Okay, I have to say, where the hell did that come from? Arya kills Meryn Trant. Okay, that's pretty cool, I guess. A little girl jumping on the king's guard, blinding him, and then basically cutting his throat. And lastly, but the most importantly, you had bad pussy. Okay, you want a good girl, but you need the bad pussy, dog. Okay. This was such an unneeded line. Okay, this was like the most stupid line in the entire series, and I don't even know why it was put in there. Okay, what did it suggest? Okay, what kind of meaning did it have? You tell me. I mean, was it to say that Bronn likes women, likes bad women, and Tyene Sands a bad woman, and thus she's bad pussy? I mean, bad pussy sounds like a really bad James Bond villain, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Like
Agent 007, you must defeat bad pussy. I mean, the whole episode was one bad moment, and of course, yeah, Stannis dying too, right? The end of the most blatant character assassination ever done on TV. When I say character assassination, basically from what he was portrayed in the books to how he was adapted into the TV show. That's what I'm going to say. Shame,
right.
shame, shame.
Absolutely, and shame shame on this episode too.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think I did like this episode not much better. So I remember being really upset by the previous episode, right? Because again, folks, right in between those seasons, right? There's that time in between, right? And I really, I as much as I love this show, the hype, all that stuff, right? And you really get excited for an episode 9. Episode 9 was always it was, from the 4 previous seasons, episode 9 was amazing, right? So, and forgive me here. I'm looking at the shame, right? And that was in
episode
episode 10, right?
Yeah, it was in episode 10. Oh yeah, everything here was episode 10.
Here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had an awesome episode with episode 8 with Hardhome.
Yep.
And then it was, we had the Shireen burning was awful, of course. And then
Danny first flew her dragon in episode 9, which was supposed to be hot badass.
The way it kind of looked and things of that nature, right? But yeah, then this line here was I don't know. I guess it was code for Bronn doesn't the noble type of girl isn't his thing, where he needs to be with like the rogue, a soldier kind of like him, right? Mm-hmm. Superman needs to be married to Wonder Woman, kind of thing, right? So, but I think this was just something that these guys heard at coffee time or something. Maybe one of their girlfriends said that they thought was funny, and they were like, "Man, I think I'll write this into the show, and 10 million people will think it's funny." Or 10 million people will not like it. But either way, I'm going to put it in the script, and I'm going to let it fly, right? And, yeah, that's what we got. I think that's what happened, Mel.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like the whole episode was like one big continuous, train wreck, It's like a continuous bad moment, if you will.
Right. When I hear folks say, well, hey, smart guy, if you think you can do it any better, go for it. You know what? Yeah, I could write that better, right? I mean, it's not, seriously, I mean, what is that? Like a 7th grader wrote that. Mm-hmm. Yes, of course I could write that better, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, just wanted to say that.
So Felicia has a serious question for us. Okay, basically, thank you, Felicia, for that, and it is. So she wants to know if we think season 5 is better than season 8. So I'm gonna give it to you first, Dog, and let you answer that first.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll watch. See, I will watch Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken. I'll watch that any day. Yeah, over pretty much anything in season 8 now. Yeah, I mean, and even the first I didn't mind like episode 1 and episode 2, but after watching the rest of them make the episode 1 and episode 2 worse for me now, right? Yeah, I would watch anything in season 5 over season 8. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not. I don't hate it as much as I hate The Last Jedi per se, but it's getting in there. It's in there with that. Yeah, I won't watch it like I used to. I used to watch the show religiously over and over and rewatch it and stuff. But yeah, I knew. I hope I answered your question.
yeah. So basically, you like season 5 more than season 8. It's basically what you're.
Yeah, but don't get it twisted, because
Yeah.
I do not like. I'm not a big season 5 fan. I say, episode 8 Hard Home is my favorite episode of all time, right? And I think season 5 is probably the weakest season out of all of them, compared to season 8. Season 8 I think is the weakest episode, and then season 5.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, in my opinion, okay, I'm a stickler for consistency. So I like consistency. Okay, from season to season, and in terms of consistency, I think season 5 had less consistency than season 8. Season 5 had some really big downs. Okay, episode 6, Unbent, Unbound, Unbroken, right, was horrible. Right, the whole Dornish plot was horrible. The whole burning of Shireen didn't make any sense whatsoever. The character, the further character assassination of Stannis. The whole shame thing was, it basically created thousands of memes worldwide. Right. So it had really low lows but really high highs, right? You had Hard Home, which was arguably one of the best episodes, if not the best episode in the entire series run. Season 8 was consistent in the sense that it was consistently simple and poorly written and bad. but I knew it going in from episodes 1, 2, and 3. I didn't expect anything greater, even though I wanted to expect more stuff out of it. I knew it was going to be consistently bad. Okay, so because they just didn't have enough time, right? There's not enough episodes to flesh everything out. Everybody knew it was going in that's just the way it was going to be, and it was going to be a disappointment. So from that respect, I like season 8 better than season 5 because of the consistency. Okay.
I see your point there.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of stalwart on that.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, they had 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they had 2 years to.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, they look what they used to do when they only had 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh, they're gonna have 2 years now, and
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. This again.
Yeah.
Starts.
Yep. Oh, okay, so we're in our number 6 now. Remember, guys, we have 10 of these things. So go ahead, Dog. Number 6.
Oh my gosh! It's season 8, folks. Oh, it's Professor X, and he's the winner of the Game of Thrones, right? After the whole entire thing, this dude, he's the one that wins the Game of Thrones, right? No, not Luke Skywalker, right? Not Princess Leia, right? Not even Cersei or Jaime Lannister or Tyrion. Nope. This dude that did pretty much absolutely nothing. Matter of fact, he took season 5 off, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yes,
He didn't even. Yeah, like he wasn't even in season 5, right? He's not even a main character to me, right? He's a B. He's kind of like in the Bronn category as far as the Starks go, right? He was never a main character to me. I mean, other than the fact he got pushed out the window in the first episode, right? But after that, I mean, that was his most interesting moment, other than the Hodor episode, which is absolutely amazing, right? Hodor's the door episode, right? That's one of the most amazing episodes, also, right? But other than him being pushed out the window by Jaime Lannister, I mean, what was his other great moment? I mean, what was so intriguing about this man's story, right?
I have no idea.
Wins the Game of Thrones, right? R plus L equals J, probably the most hyped up, over analyzed thing in the history of of this whole entire story meant absolutely nothing, right? I mean, the R plus L equals J thing was totally. I'll get to that possibly later too, but yeah. It was just a. And I also really wanted to get in not so much that he wins the throne. I should have put some more stuff up here, but that whole dragon pit scene was just awful, right? When you had like Tyrion, right, and Grey Worm's talking, like you shut up. Okay, I'll shut up, but I should probably keep talking. And I think that this guy should be the king, right? Oh, the guy in chains, right? That was the hand of the king to the evil queen. I think you should be my hand of the king now, right? And then we have all these other chuckleheads around in this circle, right? And great. It was one of the, I would have rather watched the Three Stooges at that point, right? I'm like, this is just another television show, and we have waited for 2 years for this season finale, right? We waited for 2 years, right? And we got what? We got Jon Snow just I don't want it, right? And we get Tyrion Lannister walking for like about 7 minutes through the entire episode. He just walks right through and it took him 2 years. 2 years to give us this, right? And then this dude, right? He wins, right? Yay for Bran. Yay for Bran.
So
you don't have to do anything, and you win. Participation wins.
hey, so Dawg, so who do you think has a cooler wheelchair, Professor X or Bran?
Oh. As far as the picture goes,
Yeah.
oh, when I always thought of him as Professor X, right? And I wanted to get a picture, and then I saw the kitty, right? I don't even know the cat's name or whatever, right? But I was thinking, you know what? That's Sir Pounce. That is Sir Pounce, folks, right? And I figured, you know what? That's probably that the blue girl, right? That turns into everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's who Sir Pounce is, or Sir Pounce is possibly Professor McGonagall.
Yeah.
Right? And they're in cahoots with each other to make sure that they get the Iron Throne. So I think Sir Pounce is still in the realm, and he's working alongside Bran.
That picture of Professor X reminds me of I'm not sure if you're big into Star Wars lore, but that picture reminds me of Grand Admiral Thrawn with a Ysamaril around his neck, around his back, and basically a Ysamaril is basically a creature that can negate force powers. So imagine if Professor X had a Ysamaril, and imagine that Ysamaril being Sir Pounce. He can negate Bran's foresight powers, because Bran's foresight powers is sort of like the Force in a way. You know how Yoda, how Yoda can read the future kind of by disturbances in the Force. That's what Bran can do, right, with his powers. So, yeah.
He knew all that stuff was going to happen, right? He never said, hey, once, maybe you guys should, he never told him what Cersei was up to, right? Or hey, might not want to take the dragon this way because, the Greyjoys are going to kill the dragon or something like that, right? Might not want to tell Dany about R plus L equals J because it might drive her nuts, right? He never did nothing like that because he was always about him. It was always about him. Yeah, he didn't want to be Lord of Winterfell. He wanted to be, the supreme commander of the universe.
Yeah, but again, seriously though, I mean, I think the biggest issue for me in terms of how Bran ascended to the throne was, the only reason why he ascended to the throne was evidently Tyrion convinced the rest of the chuckleheads that he had the most interesting story of all. He didn't have the most interesting story of all. In fact, there are numerous characters who have more interesting stories than he did. I mean, like Arya Stark had a more interesting story with her travels. Jon Snow had a more interesting story. Sansa even had a more interesting story. Davos Seaworth had a more interesting story if you look at the entirety of the show who survived than Bran Stark. I mean, so just lay down that explanation as to why a man should be king doesn't make sense. I mean, with this knowledge and everything, I don't think he should be king. I think he's too robotic. I think if anything, he should be like the Grand Maester of the Citadel with his knowledge. Keep the secrets there. Make sure the guys, make sure that all the history is being written down properly. That kind of thing. And then have somebody else rule Westeros. But no, we have to make Bran the king.
His story was so intriguing, Mel.
Yeah.
the story was so intriguing. They
Yeah.
didn't even use him for a season. They said,
Yeah.
you know what, we don't even need this guy, right?
Mhm.
Usually when somebody's story is really intriguing, they
Mhm.
usually leave him in the story, leave him in the show, right? This guy they just took him out for the whole entire season. We didn't even see him. I was okay with that. It was okay with me. I didn't, I wasn't like,
Mhm.
oh, but I wasn't like, high fiving folks going, oh, Brand's not on the show or something. I
Yeah.
wasn't like that, right? But at the same time, I didn't miss him, right?
Yeah.
So
So Scrub saying Genji had a more interesting story and a better claim. Well, I mean, he had a more interesting exercise routine. He was rowing his boat for 3 seasons. So I mean, but I'm not sure how interesting he had. I mean, he did have a pretty good claim, being of Targaryen blood, through his great grand aunt or something like that. So, but yeah, it's. Anyway, I thought the whole thing was kind of weird, but whatever. Bran Stark, wins the throne, so he's King Bran the Broken, and King Bran the Broken is a pretty cool name for a king. So let's get into number 6. My number 6 is, guess what? More bricks, but it's called lifting bricks now. So how the hell did this happen, guys? In episode 5, during the burning of King's Landing, okay, you seen that GIF, Cersei and Jaime are being buried under tons and tons of rubble. You see that big explosion, okay, in that in the upper part of that picture? I mean, you have a wall of dirt coming in. It's basically going to bury them alive, okay? The whole basement, okay, the whole under complex of Maker's Keep, Holdfast, should be completely buried in rubble and stone. But no, in season 6, for whatever reason, the Targaryen contractors came in with their tractors and evidently cleared out a lot of that rubble. And guess what? Tyrion only had to lift 3 bricks to find his brother and sister. How could that be done? I mean, look, even the skull, right, is still intact after being buried by tons and tons of rubble. I mean, couldn't Cersei and Jaime could just have just ran into the skull and basically, take shelter in there? See that, guys? Skull. Right there. See the print? So, I mean, how could this be done? I mean, how is this possible? This was a big, gigantic plot hole that, that I guess the producers and the writers totally missed during the story writing. I mean, how can you have basically a scene where the whole entire complex of Maegor's Holdfast is being buried, okay? And right, the overstructure is basically collapsed on top of it. And then into season 6, 24 hours later, there's no rubble anymore. It's completely gone. And then Tyrion just needs to lift 3 or 4 bricks, and boom, he finds his brother and sister. I'm just saying, how could this be done?
I knew this was going to happen the whole time too, and like I would have been okay because we saw the whole entire roof, ceiling, whatever, right? The whole thing collapsed on him, right? There should have been nothing there, and I would have given him a pass for like, okay, he finds his hand, right? Tyrion, he's walking, and again, folks, I just mentioned in my last slide, right, about how they had Tyrion walking, right? Tyrion walks like the whole, and we've been waiting 2 years and umpteen years prior to that to get to this final episode, right? And we just have Tyrion walking for, I don't know, probably a good 5 minutes at this point. He's going to walk some more throughout the episode, but I think about a good 5.5 minutes. He walks to this point to do exactly what he's going to do, right? He's going to find the hand, and then he's going to, how many licks does it take to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop, right? Let me take a look. 1, 2, 3, right? Crunch, right? At 3, it takes 3 bricks, right, to get to the center of where Cersei's located, right? So, and again, pardon my vitriol with this, but I was already upset with the week prior to that at what had happened already. So, and I was already just at this point of what was happening, I was already mad because I'm like, wow, they just got us wasting our time just sitting here, just thinking that we're stupid, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we're just going to just like, oh, yeah, just have him walk for 5.5 minutes and we're going to be okay with this, right? And then, and again, I felt bad because I felt kind of like a jerk. Like, because Peter Dinklage's performance is absolutely amazing in this, right? When he does get the final brick off, and his reaction to seeing Cersei and Jaime is absolutely outstanding. I am not knocking the acting by any means or anything of that nature, right? But at the time when he had found the hand, I started laughing, right? Just chuckled because, and I'm chuckling because everything that I thought was going to happen absolutely happened. And at the same time, I'm missing this great acting performance, which so later I went back and watched it again, of course. And Peter Dinklage is outstanding in it. But yeah, it's just like, wow, don't you guys think of just little things like that? Because it's like your audience, out of 10 million or 10 million plus viewers, 13 million viewers, however many it is, right? And not only that, the people that rewatch it and things of that nature, they're going to see things like this, guys. We're going to see things like this, or we're not all buckets, right? Or or like a or
Chuckleheads.
Right. So yeah.
I mean, to me, it's a terrible inconsistency, okay, especially from the way the whole place was collapsing in episode 5 to all of a sudden being partially excavated in episode 6. I don't think the Targaryens have that good of a contractor, right, where they can just bring in tractors and bulldozers and actually clear out the rock, just so Tyrion can waddle his way, through the depths of the underground complex of Maegor's Holdfast. So anyway, whatever. So it's, I don't know. I mean, this really bugged me. The first time I saw it, it really bugged me, and I'm still kind of irritated by this.
Yeah, I am. I'm glad I got to let that out a bit too, because I remember that's what irritated me the most, was that I was laughing at the time. The first time I saw Peter Dinklage doing when he first broke down seeing Cersei, right, and that should have been an emotional moment as a viewer, right? That should have been, and I didn't get that, right. It ruined it for me, right? Something that should have happened, and because of whatever reasons, right? But that's what shocked me the most out of it. Was like, wow, I was absolutely laughing at a very powerful scene. I was laughing at it, and I'm like, this is Game of Thrones. It's not like it was Westworld or something, right? I'm like, this is freaking Game of Thrones, and you're laughing.
All right, okay, guys. We're in the top 5 now. Hear that, people in the chat? Top 5, okay. And we're going to start out with Dawg. Numero 5. Take it away.
Number 5, folks. And this is what I call the death of Anakin Skywalker, or Darth Vader in this case, 2019, right? Or I should have called this 2.0, I guess, right? Because that's exactly what happened here. I'll probably talk a lot of Star Wars references as far as Dany goes. That's the way I felt at her final scene, right? I felt a little bit of the Anakin Padme scene, right, where in Revenge of the Sith, right, where we can make the universe our own and make it a better place and things of that nature, right? And there was a spin on words like that, right? But by the end of it, it was pretty much the same thing, the same scene of Darth Vader basically dying, right? And pretty much what I've thought, from the point of, I'm going to get to another slide eventually here, right? But I believe that Dany is basically just a copy, not really a copy per se, right? But she's another version of Anakin Skywalker, right? It's a well-crafted way to do it, right? But her story is basically the story of Anakin Skywalker turning into Darth Vader. That's exactly, so I think right when we get to the point of the bells, right, that's kind of like, when he turns into Darth Vader, things of that nature, right? But when Jon confronts her after burning the city and, killing the younglings, if you will, and confronts her, it kind of feels like that same, talk of, when Padme and Anakin were kind of going back and forth right before him and Obi-Wan fought, right? But Drogon comes down, of course, and takes down what is really the Emperor, right? The Iron Throne, basically, right? And then Luke Skywalker goes off to Jakku, or to Octu, I think, afterward. But yeah, I was just getting a lot of Star Wars vibes off of this, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, Milt, but I believe that, like, if you really look at the story of Anakin Skywalker all the way through, right, until he dies at Darth Vader, it's very similar to Daenerys Targaryen. I think it's just a kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing, for lack of a better term. But I hope it's not that way. But I kind of got a feeling that this is the way that it's going to go down in the books as well. And I just kind of feel that this was a copy of Anakin Skywalker.
So who would be Watto in Daenerys Targaryen's world?
I was going to say the other junk, or the other the Unsullied dealer, but that wouldn't work because he wasn't a very good dealer, right? So
You can't use the Force on me. I only care about money.
right, yeah, I was thinking possibly him, but no, he wasn't that bright. I might have to come back to that one.
All right. Yeah. Of course, we all know that Jon Snow is Luke Skywalker, right? So you got to have some sort of Anakin
We might
Skywalker
have to
figure
come
in
up
there.
with Watto here.
Yeah. So folks, we will get back with who the Game of Thrones equivalent of Watto would be. Maybe it's Ilario Mopatis, since he was the guy that sold off Danny, and then Watto lost Anakin Skywalker in that pod racing bet, right? He lost him, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Whereas Ilario Mopatis sold off Danny, so is that close? So could Ilario Mopatis be Watto?
I think that would work.
All right. Death of Anakin Skywalker. There you go. And Daenerys Targaryen being Anakin. Okay, number 5 for me was the whole secession crisis, if you will, and the conquest of Dorne. And this happened in season 6. Okay, starring Ilaria Sand as Michael Corleone, right? Remember in the first episode of season 6, how does Ilaria Sand gain control of Dorne? By basically killing our enemies, just like how Michael Corleone gained control of, like, basically the mob families in New York, right? But killing all the heads of the families, her enemies. That's exactly what Laura Sand. Laura Sand is exactly what Michael Corleone was in The Godfather, guys. And basically wipes out the competition, basically takes Dorne over, okay? Evidently, Dorne doesn't have any secession laws, right, in the show, because there are no other houses to actually say, no, hey, wait a minute, you're a bastard woman, just a paramour of Oberyn. How can you take over this entire, 3,000 square mile, 5,000 square mile, even more than that, probably 10,000 square mile, I think, a region of land, that doesn't make sense, So where's House Dane? Where's House Ironwood? Where's House Fowler? Where's all these other houses in Dorne that are very large houses? Where's their say? I mean, how come they didn't say anything about Ilaria Sand being, the ruler of Dorne, and basically talking for Dorne in their alliance with Daenerys Targaryen. So a lot of stuff didn't make any sense. I don't like it one bit. You also had Dorne, of course, dying with a stab in the heart, and then again Arya the Trump. Let's time this, dog, because you said it was about 1.5 seconds, right? So Arya gets that letter opener in the middle of his back. How long was that, you think? About a second and a half?
Yeah, I'd say maybe about 1.75 seconds.
Okay, so you're right then, right? About 1.5 seconds, level 1 noob, essentially. It's what this. So Arya Hota, guys, level 1 noob.
If you play as Arya Hoda, you're going to be throwing a lot of quarters in the machine. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, and yes, so it was bad. So I didn't like it one bit because it was just too convenient to basically keep her around. The whole thing was just to keep Alara Sand and the Sand Snakes around so they can reappear again later and become allies of Daenerys as she's crossing over trying to conquer Westeros. But they skipped a lot of the backstory as to how they could have done so, and they just completely ignored it. It wasn't even a skip; it was a complete, basically devoid of any explanation. And at this point, instead of this, I'd rather they would just gotten rid of the whole Dorne storyline altogether, and not even introduced them, because the whole Dorne plot line, from season 5, to season 6 was so ridiculous and so nonsensical. Starting with Rush Hour, with Jamie and Braun to the whole, conquest of Dorne in terms of how Ilaria Sand actually becomes the ruler. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. Yeah, it was bad TV, bad writing.
Yeah, it's just they copy a lot of things. Like I mentioned a lot of Star Wars analogies earlier, but this is a perfect analogy of what they did. They went Godfather on us here, right? When Michael Corleone was when he was going to be Godfather to Connie's baby, right? And then like he's taking out all his enemies right in the background, right? While they're doing the baptism. And I remember this episode. This was episode 1, right?
Episode 1, season 6.
This is the Red Woman. And because I remembered after season 5 being just kind of down, going, I'm going to stick around for a bit yet, right? I remember again, I said I was solidified into it, but I was just I was at a little breaking point there after the season 5 episode 10, I think, and episode 9 also. But I was like, I want to see a nice strong opener, and I was really down on season 6 episode 1. But the rest of the season I was pretty happy with overall. But yeah, I remember this episode just being just like, I just can't, look at this, how Tristane goes out, right?
Yep.
They basically kind of copied what they did with Carl Tanner, right? They just used a different angle, but that's kind of the way Carl Tanner goes out too, right? We're gonna use what Francis Coppola did, but we're gonna put it in Game of Thrones now, right? So we'll use the Godfather. We'll use what we already did when Jon Snow took out Carl Tanner, so it looks cool, right? And and look what happened to poor Arya Hoda.
Yeah.
Rumbum.
Yeah, and of course they never explained how the hell did the Sand Snakes actually get on the boat, right? Because they were actually docked in the harbor, okay, off of the Red Keep, and then certainly someone would have seen, Nymeria and Obara like come along in a boat and actually board it, right? Unless the crew was just taking a vacation, and he was the only one left on the boat, and so they totally skipped over how they would have done it. So
they just walk in.
Yeah,
it was just another. It just felt like another TV show at that time.
They basically teleported into it or something. But I mean, it's just again, they probably could have just left Dorne out of the whole entire series, and the show viewers would not have known the better. Because it wasn't integral. It wasn't even important to any of the main plot lines of the TV show at all. So you
should have got the storyline of Marcella losing her ear.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we should have had, some of that kind of stuff, right? I mean,
Well, I don't think there was even time for like an Ariane plot or even a Quentin plot, in Marine. I mean, there wasn't enough time. I mean, so it just, to me, I mean, I don't think they could have done anything. What they could have done was basically get rid of the plot line of Dorne and basically use that extra time and production money to actually flesh out other parts of the story that were already in place. That's how I would have done. So. But anyway, it's really depressing to even think about this. Yeah, I mean, Marcella's death is definitely pointless. I mean, other than the fact that Ilaria Sand was just so bent on revenge that she had to wipe everybody out, including, Marcella, just like Michael Corleone, right? You got to wipe everybody out. They're my enemies.
That's what I was going to say, too. And then, all those soldiers, right, that are standing there, right? Prince Dorne's soldiers. Like, when he gets attacked, and then, or I think the one soldier guy starts running off, right? None of the other soldiers even do anything. They don't even move, right? They just kind of let the other little sand snake throw her knife, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she takes it out of Ario's back maybe and throws it at him or something, right? And but none of those other soldiers are doing anything. They're just right? They're just like, oh yeah,
she did take out the knife from Ario's back and killed the maester with it, right? Didn't we see the Maester running
That's who it
after
was.
this?
I was trying to think who was running away.
Yeah,
There was
it was the
somebody running
Maester.
away and nobody tried to stop him. Or
yeah. Yeah, I think the Maester tried to run away, and then she grabbed a knife and threw it in the back of the Maester. I think that's what happens.
basically, all those stand-ins were just doing what they were paid to do, was stand
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my number 5.
Most
Really
outstanding.
depressing. It's getting
stand-in.
more and more depressing as we get along into the stream.
Oh,
The more we talk about this. So, but at the end of the day, guys, we're not trying to be negative here or anything like that, because we still think it's a great TV show, and I do. Okay, it's just one of these things that it's worth talking about at this point. So, number 4 for you, Dog, is
Because I'm Batman.
Captain Marvel,
I mean-
Wolverine. Who?
I mean, yeah, she's everything, right? But yeah, I mean, by the end of it, right, it's because I'm Batman, right? I mean, I'm sure folks would know what that refers to here, right? This is how the Night King goes out, folks. Not in an epic, battle or something with like John
Exactly.
and Theon and Jorah and Arya and all the other, and Grey Worm and all them guys like fighting like the White Walkers or something, like some epic battle or something, right? That's going on for the, for Bran's life or something, right? Or whatever's going on or whatever the hell, but no, we just get the slow, beautiful music, by the way, right? I mean, the music, of course, the music is great and all that, but I look a little deeper than just music and visuals and slow motion, right? And, I think when I first watched this, we were all, I was just kind of on the edge of my seat just because I want to know what's going to happen, of course, right? I want to know who's going to live, who's going to die, things of that nature, right? But the way it happened, I was just like, are you kidding me right now? She just popped out of thin air. Like, what's that one, Nightcrawler, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about
Folks.
Nightcrawler, though, is that he teleports, and when he's around, because there's this, like, brimstone smell. Like a puff of smoke when he teleports.
Right. And we'd seen her go through all the stealth training too. We just saw her use that stealth training with all those other whites that she could have easily just gone around and just totally tornadoed, right? I mean, she could have taken out all those whites in that library too, but I don't know, for whatever reason they wanted to keep it creepy, I guess. But she was using those stealth skills. However, when after she used those stealth skills to their max power, however, whatever you want to call it, she decides to scream like she's playing tennis or something, right? Like, I've never understood why they scream when they're playing tennis either, right? But probably when she needs her stealth skill at its highest, which she was using here, because, hey,
She's Batman.
right? Night King doesn't see you. Nobody else sees you at all, right? Other than Bran knows you're there, right? Because Bran knows everything. But she just pops out of thin air perfectly, decides to do the tennis player scream, and then the Night King sees her, and then she kills him anyway, right? Because she's Batman, right? And that's how it went down, right? I was okay with Arya killing the Night King. It didn't break my heart that Arya killed the Night King. It was the way that she killed the Night King that bugged me over it, right? I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, think about it, right? Jon Snow basically didn't do anything in this whole entire episode. He sat on a dragon, right? And when they needed fire, he just sat on that dragon.
He did a really good screaming match with Viserion. He screamed at Viserion pretty well.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. When it came time to face off against the dragon, right, he screams at it, right? Hey, Kit, you want to scream? Just scream at the camera for us, would you? We'll put a dragon in later, right? And we'll see you next week or something, right? So, but that's what they had Jon Snow do. He screams at the dragon, and then we get this absolutely. I mean, and this episode was just rough to watch anyway because it was so freaking dark, and then the tactics that were used in it were so bad too. It has its moments, but it has more bad moments than good moments here, right? But and just to get to my point here, I was okay with Arya killing the Night King. It was just the way it went down. I mean, this should have been, Night King and his, super Legion guys, right? His Red Guard, if you will, right? taking out our top fighters, taking on our Grey Worm, having a raid night, Milt, right? Let's see Jon Snow and Jorah and Grey Worm and Arya and Theon and all those guys, right? And we're fighting White Walkers and everything to get to this Night King, right? And then maybe Arya sneaks through or something and gets it in there, right? But, we called this, I think, on your stream prior to this episode coming out was, I think one of us knew that that weapon was definitely going to be used, right?
Yeah.
And, so that happened. But, yeah, this was just kind of like, I don't know. It felt more like a music video than a final confrontation, I guess.
You think
And
Arya...
then real quickly, it ends like Lord of the Rings, right? I mean, the ring is destroyed, and then all the minions of Sauron are defeated, right? They just all turn to dust, basically.
And speaking of Lord of the Rings, yeah, you're right. I mean, so this scene was like a Lord of the Rings thing, and then like the Lyanna Mormont versus the giant scene was like Harry Potter against the troll, right? Where Lyanna Mormont stuck that knife into the giant eye, whereas Harry Potter stuck the wand up that troll's nose. Right? It was kind of the same thing. They were both exactly in the same body position. So so do you think Arya jumping that high was a result of her newly found superpowers, or did she actually encounter a hidden trampoline behind the redwood tree?
Or was Hermione in the background just swish and flick? And maybe she did the Levy Corpus on her, possibly.
Okay, so you're saying that Hermione Granger was there in the Godswood?
Hey, if Arya can pop out of thin air, Hermione Granger can be right in the background too. I'm just saying, right?
So Hermione Granger used that time turner, right? And went way, way back.
Yep, that's exactly what Arya's been doing. She's been using McGonagall's time turner.
Yeah, that's the only way that she can appear everywhere at once. The time turner.
You heard it right here, folks.
That's the theory, guys. The time turner.
The code has been cracked by the Westerosi Ninja folks.
All right. So anyway, yeah, she's Batman. What more can we say? As well as Captain Marvel, as well as Wolverine. But we'll get to her later. My number 4 is, dang, Cersei really needed those elephants, didn't she? Those war elephants in season 8. Talk about like the one. Personally, for me, one of the most hyped things about season 8 was I wanted to see what the Golden Company was going to do, because they're such a legend in terms of the lore of A Song of Ice and Fire. To actually have them in the show, it was pretty exciting for me, and I was like just hyped to see what they would have done. Being like this renowned sellsword company. So what do we have here? Well, Cersei buys off, hires the Golden Company, 20,000 Golden Company soldiers, 2,000 horses, according to homeless Harry Strickland there. And, but she couldn't get those war elephants, but surely that's enough, to actually defeat the armies of, Grey Worm and the Northern soldiers. But what do we see? We see about maybe at max a few hundred guys, standing outside the gates of King's Landing, and they just get totally decimated and wiped out, by the Dothraki and the dragon. So what happened to the other, 19,500 soldiers? Where did they go? And for such a renowned fighting force, they really went out like chumps. I don't think they killed a single Northern or Dothraki soldier in the whole scene. The only thing I saw of them was running away or being lit on fire.
Right. They went to the Arya Hoda training school.
So were these like 500 noobs?
Yeah.
Level 1 noobs there?
I'll go through like, oh man, did you see what Ario got last weekend, man? He bought all that DLC gear. Got a cool axe, right? Oh man, they got pikes, they got shields, man. Here, $5 here, $10 here, $20 if you get the soul. Yeah, put it all up here, man. We're gonna be awesome players, man. Oh, how does this control? What's the D-pad? What's this for? Oh, I'm dead. Yeah, and then seriously, right? This was like so overhyped, and yeah, because like we had Cersei, talking about these folks, right?
Yep.
And it's like kind of like I was talking about Cersei earlier, how she just looks out a window most of the time. But there are some moments when she does kind of talk about the Golden Company, right? And
Yep.
it's Harry Strickland, right? And
Yep.
all this dude does, he runs like a goofball. By the end of it, that's your last vision of Harry Strickland, is him running like a goofball and just getting taken out by Grey Worm.
Yep.
But yeah, prior to this, we'd seen him on the ship, and we were like, "Oh man, who's the dude with the cool armor? Man, that's some awesome looking armor, right?" And it was DLC armor, all it was, right? But yeah, he was no player, right? He was just a level 1 noob. I mean, then the real player showed up and took him out. Grey Worm did. So, but yeah, that was just shocking that there was absolutely no resistance at all, nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
and they only had 500 men, okay, at the most, right? Look at that one scene, and they were all concentrated just at the front gate. Again, what happened to the other 19,500 men that supposedly came over? Where were they located? I mean,
I'm wondering if maybe Davos gave him some fermented crab or something, or because Davos, we talked about that a little bit ago too. We were thinking maybe Davos is a pretty badass fighter because they put him on.
Don't underestimate Davos, because he says that he tells everybody else that he's not a great fighter, but that's because he wants his opponents to underestimate him.
Somebody knew about these guys because they told Davos, "Hey, dude, you can just Davos, hey, want to be up on the front line for once? This will be fun for you, all right? Don't even worry about these guys. These are, yeah, we'll put Davos on the front line."
Davos can win a battle without having one single drop of blood in his sword. You notice that?
Yeah, he's kind of like Andy Griffith, right? How he's like the sheriff without a gun.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's just as nice as Andy Griffith. I mean, it's a perfect comparison. Why not?
Of Westeros. That's awesome.
Yeah. The sheriff of Mayberry, right? So King's Landing is Mayberry. Anyway, so where's Gomer Pyle then?
Thinking who would be Aunt B?
Yeah, where's Gomer in all this?
Oh, Gomer? Gomer might be Hodor.
Sergeant Carter?
Cooper.
Sergeant Carter? Who'd he be? Alistair Thorne?
Oh, the Sergeant Carter guy?
Yeah, Alistair Thorne?
Oh, yeah, that sounds. I think that's right. That sounds about right.
Anyway, okay. There you guys go, okay. The elephants, man. Cersei really need those elephants. Let's go to our top 3. We're almost done. We're in our top 3 here. And what is it, Dawg?
Commander Cody, time has come. Execute Order 66. Why? I mean, they really did it. They seriously, they copied Star Wars with this character. This is what we've been watching for the whole entire time. Was we watched Anakin Skywalker, right? Kind of remember Anakin Skywalker. He's like that slave kid. Yeah. Right? Hi, I like to make robots and stuff, right? And then there's Dany. She likes to read books and stuff, and it's just the little differences, of course, right? But Anakin Skywalker is Daenerys Targaryen, right? And when you start hearing those bells go off, ding, 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 and you see her starting to look at over where Cersei's located, you're thinking, yeah, she's going to go after Cersei now, right? And it was a beautiful scene. You saw the dragon right up on top, and all that stuff. And, they're like, hey, ring the bells, right? And somebody save us, all this stuff, right? And there was absolutely no resistance at all after we saw that she couldn't even approach Euron's fleet with Drogon after, or was it not Viserion? What was the other one's name? Rhaegal, right? Rhaegal was killed, right? So, she couldn't even approach the fleet the week prior to, but this week she can just take out everything. They didn't even need the army. We just sat there and talked about the armies and stuff like that. They could have just sent Dany and Drogon, right, and it would have been over. That was all they had to do, right? But no, they did. They went back to my point of we hear the bells. That is the point when you hear the Emperor say execute Order 66, and that's exactly what happens, right? That's Dany goes to the Jedi Temple basically and just starts killing everybody, including all the younglings, right? the women and the children and all the stuff that John talks about, like Padme did to Anakin, right? And talked about, you killed women and children and all that stuff, right? And you killed younglings, right? It's the same exact thing, right? They basically copied. I'll call it right out for what it is. They copied the story of Anakin Skywalker, right? And they took a beloved character, and it made absolutely no sense for what she had done all the way up until that point. Of course, she had done some brutal things, right? Burning the Tarleys, right? But at the same time, she didn't just burn them without confronting them first, giving them some sort of an option for their life, right? She crucified corrupt, disgusting people, right, that had done the same thing to children, right? So she had, basically she was kind of that eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth kind of judge, if you will, right? Kind of like I don't want to get religious, right? But she's kind of like the back in the Old Testament, the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth kind of mentality, right? Whereas you kind of look at Jon Snow, kind of like the New Testament sort of stuff. It's a little bit different. Love your neighbor and all that kind of stuff, right? Although it's a little tricky with that because John's done some executions and things like that too. But Dany had done absolutely nothing prior to this to make you think that she was, ever going to kill women and children like that, right? It made no sense. But you knew this was going to happen in the episode prior to, because I think when she was talking with Tyrion, and yeah, Tyrion was telling her about the bells, right? That means we call it off. But she nods to Grey Worm, and that was like their little signal of, hey, that means unleash hell, right? That's what the bells mean. Execute Order 66, right? Grey Worm's basically Commander Cody, if you will, also, right? But yeah, Dany's definitely Anakin Skywalker going off to kill the younglings, and she is now consumed by Darth Vader.
I think
right?
the younglings were the Golden Company.
Like that, you might be absolutely right.
Yeah, because there were
Master Dany, there's too many. What are we going to do?
yeah, and just basically just fall over once they see Anakin Skywalker basically walk in, and which character would have told Dany that she didn't have the high ground and stop, Dany, stop, you don't have the high ground, I have the high ground. Who would that be?
That was Jon. I mean, Jon is
Skywalker.
But I mean, he kind of, by the end of it, he was, he kissed her. Well, thank God we didn't, we didn't see Obi-Wan kiss Anakin prior to, but that was when he kisses her, and it's like, you're my queen or whatever, forever my queen or whatever. That was the point when he said, "I've got the high ground, Anakin, and you can't do this anymore. And here's a dagger in your heart. Oh, happy dagger."
So who's Palpatine? I mean, who's actually running the show?
The throne. The throne is Palpatine.
You guys hear that, man? That's a good theory. The Iron Throne is
down, just like it kind of goes off in a
Palpatine.
But yeah, the throne was Emperor Palpatine the whole time.
And Drogon's like a big rancor. Anyway. Or the pit of Sarlacc.
Like I said, it's beautifully done, right? But at the same time, I can see underneath all the little differences, all that stuff. But this character is Anakin Skywalker, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think both characters, to be really serious here, both characters are similar in terms of Daenerys and Anakin. With respect to the fact that they wanted everybody to have liberty, right? They wanted to free slavery. They didn't want slavery anymore, right?
At any cost.
At any cost, yeah. And
I remember that from your
that's all I'm saying.
Villains stream.
Yep.
No matter what, the main antagonist will always, at any cost.
So
right?
It looks like we have some discussion in the chat. I guess Palpatine could be a Targaryen.
Peter.
Peter Griffin says Bran is actually Palpatine.
That's Peter Griffin. Way to go. I guess we'll call the throne Snoke.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, it can't be Snoke because the throne actually has a purpose. I don't think Snoke himself even knew why he was in the movies.
Right, and the throne.
So he didn't really have a purpose. Yeah. So the
Yeah,
throne does have
true.
a purpose. So,
I hope you folks enjoyed my Anakin Skywalker analogy and my execute order 66.
all right. All right. So okay. So so my number three is something I've talked about for ages, and I'm still pissed off about it. So I'm gonna talk about it again. Okay. And that's of course the Ghost Army of the Vale in season 6. So you have 1,000-man Vale army in heavy armor and horses that somehow slips into the north without being spotted, right? And surprises the Boltons, Umbers, and Karstarks at a Battle of the Bastards. How the hell could this be done? I still don't know how this could be done. I don't have a good explanation. I can't even think of a reasonable logical explanation for all this stuff. Okay, so think about where the Vale is, okay? So I show you guys a map because I'm all about maps here. M plus a scale, okay, up the right-hand corner there. Okay, essentially, the Vale's down here in the lower right-hand corner of the picture here. Here's the area, okay? In order for them to actually meet, okay, you can't meet at the area because it's full of like these really steep mountain roads and there's just not enough space. So you generally would meet somewhere here, by the King's Road, by the Crossroads Inn, okay? At that point, they have two options, right? If they're going by the land route, they have to go up north, basically march north along the King's Road and pass Moat Cailin, the key to the north, okay? But guess who holds it? The friggin' Boltons hold it, okay? So if they actually did take Moat Cailin, the Boltons would have known the Vale army was coming and not be surprised, okay? Another option is that they could have went the sea route, okay? In that case, everybody meets over in Goldtown, right? Because that's the only harbor in the Vale that's big enough to support that many people, okay? And it has that many ships to basically board 1,000-man Vale army in heavy armor and horses. Okay, in that case, they're going to have to travel by sea up north, ding, 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 this way. Okay, get into the Bight here, okay, past the Three Sisters, and basically land and unboard at a big harbor, okay? What's the biggest harbor in the north? Of course, it's White Harbor, guys. But guess who controls the region around White Harbor? You're right, it's the Boltons. Okay, so either way, they would have known that the Boltons were around. Okay, that the Vale was around and not be surprised. The only way that they would not have been surprised if they actually took the sea route and traveled south along and basically around Dorne and coming through the western side of Westeros and perhaps landed, say, in Sea Dragon Point or Deepwood Motte or something like that. But even that would have been unlikely because then you have Bear Island up there. Okay, no, actually Bear Island wasn't actually taken by the Boltons, so that's okay. And basically landed somewhere like in Deepwood Motte or something like that. Deepwood Motte is where Arya Greyjoy landed before she was basically captured by Stannis, but that's another different story. And basically landed somewhere there, and then basically surprised them going from the west that came to the battle. But that is a big, long ass journey. Okay, we're talking in a span of months. Okay, not like weeks or days that the show depicted. So I don't know how the Boltons, Umbers, and Karstarks could have been surprised. Okay, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, and I'm still trying to figure it out. And I don't know. It seemed like the whole Vale army was just a plot device to put in there to make Sansa a hero. That's pretty much it.
I think you're on to something there, buddy. Yeah. That's exactly what happened here, right?
Yeah.
Again, this was another. And this is a great episode, right? There's a lot of great scenes and things of that nature. However, Ramsay, one of his most powerful characteristics, right? And he was a great villain, especially like when we lost Joffrey, because it was like Joffrey just like handed him the ball off and was like, oh, yeah, awesome. You have somebody else to hate just as much, right? It was Ramsay Bolton. But one of his greatest bad guy qualities was information. Right, he always had one up on somebody, right? He knew something more than Theon, right? He knew more than Sansa knew before Sansa wanted to know something. It was just like he always had one up on everybody, right? So you're telling me that this area that he kind of controls and things of that nature, right? Like he can't get information about a whole entire army of Rohirrim.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, they're coming through, right? And this was just another way of them to copy, or I'm going to call it copying for what it is, right? It's copying Lord of the Rings, right? They did the Ride of the Rohirrim or when King Theoden shows up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ride now, ride to ruin, and the world's ending, right? I mean, that's what's going on right here, right? So, yeah, it was a carbon copy of Lord of the Rings. It looked beautiful and stuff, of course, right? But we had seen that before in the Return of the King, and in the Two Towers, of course, too, where the here come the cavalry, right?
Yep.
And Sansa, somehow got them by you, right? How did they get by? Did they go through the path of Cahadras or something, or did they meet up with the army of the dead or something?
They found a stash of Littlefinger's teleporters and jetpacks and flew in because and the thing is though, it's impossible not to notice a 1,000-man army. Okay, heavily armored knights with horses, basically trampling, through your territory. If it was like a squad of like 8 people, right, like, the Inglorious Bastards or whatever, right, sure, right, you can get in there and basically, start doing stuff, but not a 1,000-man army, guys. Okay. Okay, so it's freaking impossible. Okay, so yeah, the whole thing was ridiculous. Basically, a big plot device to make Sansa the hero, and also to make like a kind of like an epic end to the Battle of the Bastards, right? To have these knights, breaking the Boltons right when they're about to crush the Northern Army. When in fact, all they needed to do was basically put a tree trunk in one's hands, and that would have crushed the Bolton army. So,
Absolutely.
Yep, that is about it. So, yep, Ghost Army, just like in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense to me until the end, of course, and I was just I was like, oh yeah, it was just a way for yay Sansa, hooray for Sansa, and awesome for the horsies.
You know what was really funny too? At the end of the battle, why didn't like Jon just take one of the horses to ride back to Winterfell? I mean, they saw him running back to Winterfell. They could probably just taken a horse.
Again, these guys are Lord of the Rings fans, right? And of course, one of the greatest scenes in the book, or even in the movie doesn't show it as well as what the book kind of brings you into, is when they make that run when they lose Pippin and Merry, right?
Yeah.
Well, they don't know at the time what hobbits they've lost, of course, right? But they run for like 3 days, like they just like nonstop run, and it just kind of looks cool where you have an elf and a dwarf and a man, running or whatever, right? Well, now we have a giant and a wildling and a northerner or southerner or whatever John is, right? The Luke Skywalker, right? But it looks cool with them running, right? So it was kind of a way for them to kind of show that scene also. Hey, that looked cool in Return or in Two Towers. Put that in this scene, right? This looked great in Return of the King, right? Put that in this scene here.
Yeah, and what reminds me, yeah. I was thinking about another Lord of the Rings thing about in Mordor, where again running like like Sam and Frodo being able to like march through like through Mordor, like 200 miles of Mordor in like 3 days to get to Mount Doom. When they just walked out of like Barad-dûr, the Tower of Barad-dûr, okay, where the spider was, or not I think it was where the spider was, or where the orcs were that captured them, but still it's around there, right, in the movies. And to walk like 200 miles to Mount Doom to basically throw the ring in 3 days, that didn't make sense either. But jetpacks are all over the place. So that is my number 3. So we're in the top 2, guys. Dog, take it away.
2.
You got a lot of Star Wars smack here.
For the Jedi to end. And yes, this was just, again, folks, this was my favorite character on the show for the entire run. Until season 8, I guess. I don't even know who my favorite character is in season 8. Because I do not like season 8 at all. But this is kind of what happened to Jon Snow, right? It was like, okay, he faces Darth Vader, Dany, right? Destroys her, and then the screen kind of goes black, right? And then now, fast forward, and it's like 2 weeks, maybe a month later, we find out that Jon's in prison or something, right? Grey Worm's got him. Whatever, right? We find out in The Force Awakens that 20 years went by and nobody knows where Luke Skywalker is, right? Well, we didn't know where Jon Snow was either when the things went. We're going, where the hell is Jon Snow? What happened to Jon Snow? Where's Luke Skywalker? Right? It's the same thing, right? Right? And they, what was once a great hero is now drinking space walrus milk, right? On Octu somewhere, right? And that's where Jon Snow's heading off to right now. He's off to Octu. And when they do, the Game of Thrones sequel 20 years from now, that's where we're going to find Jon Snow. He's going to be exactly like where Luke Skywalker is. He doesn't want it anymore. It's time for the Night's Watch to end, right? And it's time to get down and drink some green space walrus milk. Maybe go out and get a ice fish or something once in a while, right? But that is the end for our hero. R plus L equals J, right? The most overhyped, maybe next to Clegane Bull. No, R plus L equals J was way more overhyped than anything.
Yeah.
But this was basically the Star Child, right, from V or something, right? And it meant nothing. It meant absolutely nothing, right? They didn't even mention him in that little circle jerk that they had.
Yeah.
With the
they kept him in prison. I mean, they kept him in prison, which didn't make sense because, I mean, what was wrong with him being the king? There was nothing there was absolutely nothing that could have gone wrong with him being the king. If anything, that would have basically united all those lords behind another Targaryen coming in. But maybe they didn't like Targaryens anymore.
Yeah, I hated this ending, and I also threw in you folks can see the little shot of the Wizard of Oz, one of my favorite films of all time, and big shout out to the Wizard of Oz. I love the Wizard of Oz, but going back to the dock scene, right when they were just all hail Brand 5000 or whatever the hell your name is, right, and Sansa was talking about stuff, and I was so mad at the time when they were on the dock. Because I was feeling the Wizard of Oz vibe, and I miss you most of all, Scarecrow. And I was feeling the vibe of when Sam and Frodo were heading off to when Sam and when Frodo and Sam and Bilbo and them were, getting on the ship to go to the Great Havens, right? I was getting that vibe too, right? And again, I was just like, you are copying you just take films. You take scenes from other great films or great stories, and you just use them as your own, basically. And that's what they kind of did, I thought, on the dock, right? And it was to the point to where I was like, oh, Sansa's talking right out, and it went right out this way, right? That Sansa said something, and you know what? I've totally forgot what Sansa said, right? I remember Arya saying something about, I'm going west of Westeros, right? And I'm going, oh, she's going west of Westeros because in a prior episode, she mentioned it. I forgot when it was. I forgot she asked somebody.
No. It was Lady Crane when she was recovering from with Lady Crane.
Yeah. What's west of Westeros?
Yeah, I think she was she was in a daze from drinking all that milk with the poppy to make her recover.
So yeah, we're gonna send her off to because she mentioned it sometime. No, she's not gonna be some great Pai Mei type of instructor or something like that, or awesome super fighter. That's what I thought she was going to do. I thought she'd go back and be the Jock and High Guard, take over the Faceless Men or something. But no, she just goes off and sail on or whatever, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, especially for a character who's all about, at the end, all about family, and now she's abandoning her family again to go sail off.
John gets absolutely no respect at all. He is the Rodney Dangerfield, the Luke Skywalker also, right? He's just going off to Octu. Just no respect at all for Jon Snow.
I mean, I think the whole storyline, Jon's storyline, at the end was really, really weak. I mean, for all the hype of him being the hero of the story, right? The main antagonist, he didn't do anything that we expected the hero to do, right? Because he was built up as the hero, right? I mean, he didn't kill the Night King. They had to give it to Arya, because that's what Hollywood wants. Not to be controversial, but I think that's probably why Arya killed Night King. He didn't become king, right? I mean, they basically ignored the fact that he was a Targaryen after it was revealed, right? Your whole R plus L equals J kind of like hype that never actually produced anything. Yeah, it was weird how they handled John's character at the end, especially how it was especially because of how it was built up.
Terrible.
He really didn't do anything seriously at the end.
He didn't do nothing. He
He
screamed
didn't
at a
do anything.
dragon. He made a great, I mean, nice monologue speech, right? He made the Julius Caesar,
Hmm.
friends, Romans, and countrymen, lend me your ear speech,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? And the eulogy, that was his. I think that was
Hmm.
probably his best scene was the eulogy
Yeah.
scene, right, where he made the speech. But other than that, what did this man do?
Yep.
Right? He was a joke on the dragon at first, right? They were having a good laugh with that, and oh God, what did they do to him? Why
Yeah.
and why?
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't the hero at the end. The hero was Arya. I mean, they basically made Arya the hero at the end, not John, who was built up as the hero for 7 years.
He should have just gone to Tashi and picked up some power converters.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, Uncle Owen, can I go over to what was that? Was it what was the name? Anchor Town?
You
Yeah. Yeah, it's just something
can
like
waste
that.
time with your friends when your chores are done.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. My number two is something that I've talked about before, and it's this whole thing about distance and space that bugs me about Game of Thrones. And the first thing I talked about earlier was about the Ghost Army of the Vale. Somehow transporting and being unnoticed through the north. A worse offense to my sensibilities is basically the rescue of the White Hunters and how all this stuff could have taken place in 24 hours. And just to give you a comparison, a kind of like some little bit of context in terms of scale here. What I have here is basically the outline of Westeros and how it fits into the continent of Africa, and basically the northern part of Westeros, that's the wall, okay, and the southern is Dorne, okay. So basically, a lot of the stuff that's happening during the events of the hunting expedition, the White Hunting Expedition, occurs north of the wall, somewhere here, right? And Daenerys Targaryen and her dragons are in Dragonstone, right? And they're roughly about there, okay? So that's about 1,900 miles away. We found my cursor there. Okay, now let's go through the events of this whole white hunting expedition and the subsequent rescue, if you will. Okay, and how it could have happened in 24 freaking hours. Okay, well, let's start. Okay, they start off at Eastwatch. They walk. Okay, a day. Okay, I'm saying 8 hours. It could be less. It could be 3 hours. Whatever, right? Average human walks about 3 to 4 miles per hour. Okay, normally on flat level surface. Okay, we're on snow. The dragon supplies for whatever reason, and so maybe they're walking less than that. Maybe 1 to 2 miles per hour, which is really really slow. But just let's just say they do. Okay, so in the course of an 8-hour day, assuming 3 to 4 miles per hour, that's about 32 miles, okay, away from the wall, okay. So which isn't that bad. Okay, it could be a lot less than that. If they're really encumbered, and the terrain was rough, they could have only walked like 16 miles in that one day. Okay, so at that point, they captured a white, okay, and all of a sudden, they encountered this big army of whites, and they're trapped like they're trapped in an island in a frozen lake, okay? And then they go, Gendry, you better run quick, okay? Back to Eastwatch, okay? No problem, right? Because say if you assume that he's faster than Usain Bolt at full sprint, and he runs about 27 miles per hour, he can traverse that 32 miles, okay, in about 1.5 hours, okay? And in fact, in that 1.5 hours, excuse me, in that 1.5 hours, he can actually traverse. What am I talking about? If they were only about 16 miles away, he can traverse that in about 90 minutes. So 75 minutes, which isn't that bad at all. So the whole point about him running back doesn't bother me that much because they weren't really that far away from the wall to begin with. If that makes sense. Okay. At the most, they were probably only about 32 miles away from the wall. Okay. 30 miles away from the wall, Gendry running, if he's going downhill, that helps him out a little bit. He can get there within say 3 to 4 hours. Fine, okay. So basically, they're fighting. The rest of the White Hunters are stuck on that island for about for 3 to 4 hours while Gendry's running to the wall. Okay. What bugs me now is then they spend the night over in they spend the night in that frozen lake. Okay, in the island of frozen lake. Okay, Genji gets the East Watch and basically sends a Raven out. Okay, now this bugs me a lot, okay, because it has to traverse 1,900 miles back to Dragonstone, okay, so Daenerys Targaryen will know that they're in danger and fly back, okay. How do you traverse 1,900 miles, okay, over the course of a night, okay? Because say they traveled 8 hours they traveled 8 hours, they only have 16 hours of daytime left, right? How long does it take for a raven to fly? Well, carrier pigeons right now can travel about 1,100 miles a day, okay, with an average speed of 50 miles per hour, okay? If you extrapolate that out, that means they can only travel, they will reach about this point after 24 hours. Okay, so we're already past our timeline already, right? Because there was only 16 hours left during the day for all these events to take place. Okay, to get to Dragonstone, they need like another half day, like 1.5 days to 1 3/4 day to reach Dragonstone. So it can't be done, right? It's too it's there's too much time, there's not enough time for all these events to take place given the travel distance of the Raven to Dragonstone. But besides that, then you have to spend another 4 hours roughly, assuming that, Daenerys Targaryen's dragons can fly 500 miles per hour, which it can because that's the speed of a 747. Okay, from Dragonstone back to the wall, right? So at minimum, you need at least 2 days. Okay, you need at least 2 days of time for the Raven, to get to Dragonstone, warn Daenerys, and basically fly back up north of the wall to rescue the White Hunters. And of course, the scene takes place in only a 24-hour period, so it cannot be done. It cannot be done, guys. Physically, it cannot be done unless you have super ravens, okay? Unless they teleported, okay? That's the only thing I can think of. It had to be super ravens. So anyway, that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was just kind of reconfirming there. I was like, it looks like you say about 50 miles an hour they can go, about as fast, about the fastest a bird can go.
Yeah, exactly.
Raven.
A carrier pigeon, okay, modern day carrier pigeon can travel and has an average speed of 50 miles per hour. Okay, that assumes no rest.
Right.
Okay, and also that's 1,100 miles. Okay, not in a straight line, right? Because birds don't always fly in a straight line, too.
No, we can even give them that. We can assume that, okay, yeah, these are super smart birds or something like that, right? But even then, right? I mean, there's got to be some sort of, maybe even these birds can go double that speed. It still wouldn't be able to.
Nope.
Right. So we've had some strange occurrences, like skeletons beating through rock and gold just melting. Like we're very fast also in this world too, right? So I was kind of maybe giving them a variable here or two, but one of the biggest issues though that I had, which is kind of just kind of out there, right, was like when Jon's like sends Gendry off to do the running because Gendry's the fastest. And I'm going, how the hell does Jon know that Gendry's the fastest?
He's
right?
the youngest.
Races, right? Did they, in between, on off screen or something, did they just have tryouts or something to find out who was the fastest guy, right? Tom line up, Beric line up, and even the red shirt guy that gets killed by the bear.
Thoros
find out who is the fastest. And I'm going, well, maybe it's just because Jon found out that Gendry was Robert Baratheon's bastard, and he was swift as a deer. You know, maybe that's.
I mean, Gendry's the youngest, so maybe he made that assumption that being the youngest means that he had the most sprightly legs.
I just didn't understand. I was like, well, how the hell? I mean, I'm guessing I wanted to see that race just to see.
Yeah, and
Thoros Amir and who's faster? Thoros Amir or Beric Dondarrion.
Well, I mean, we also know that Gendry also has really good cardio endurance, right?
From rowing.
Yeah, he rowed that boat for three seasons straight. So.
Yeah, he'd be a huge, like, if they had like a Westerosi biathlon or something, and it was like just rowing and running. Gendry would definitely be, unless he was going against Arya, of course. Arya would win against anybody.
I mean, I really actually have no issue with Gendry running, right? Because they probably didn't walk that far out, right? Okay.
I was okay with that. I was just going, how the hell does Jon know he is the fastest though? Was there a faster runner than Gendry in the party?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Does anybody know? Can anybody help me? I've been trying for a while now to find out, how does Jon know that Gendry's the fastest? That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
I'll just say that I guess Jon knows.
Well, no,
he knows some things. He knows some things.
And the thing that this whole Raven thing really bugs me because as I'm running through these calculations here, it's a 40-hour trip, okay, for the fastest Raven to get to Dragonstone. And the scene takes place in 24 hours. It cannot be done, okay? Physically, it cannot be done unless you get super Ravens, okay?
Do you think they have like
I mean, the Ravens
kind of like Pony Express or something like that, or maybe they do like a track team where they.
It doesn't matter because
beacon or something, do they?
It doesn't matter because the distance is still the same, right? Even with the Pony Express, the distance is still the same.
I was wondering if like the Ravens had like a little beacon service, like light the beacons, Gondor's under attack or something, right? But maybe they could light a beacon or something.
Okay. Assume they traveled at 100 miles per hour instead of 50 miles per hour, right? Okay, instead of 40 hours, then you look at 20-hour trip to Dragonstone.
Still
right?
20 hours back and forth.
You can't do that. You still cannot do it because the whole scene takes place in 24 hours, and we've already dedicated at least 4 to 8 hours for them walking.
So I'm only thing I can think of right now at this point is they use beacons or Hermione Granger showed up with the time turner. Yeah,
no, and even if they only walk 2 hours, right? We're still missing the round trip, right? It takes 40 hours just to get to Dragonstone. Then Dany has to fly back on her dragon 1,900 miles, to the place where they're at. And I don't know how Dany knew where they were. Okay, but besides that point, how Dany found them. But besides that point, it's a 4-hour trip if the dragon flies.
I'm guessing a dragon goes maybe about as fast as a 747 or something, maybe.
Well, as I'm saying, 500 miles per hour.
Yeah.
But we know that dragons don't go as fast as 747. Let's be honest here, right? So, I mean, realistically, 100 miles, 200 miles per hour max, perhaps, okay? Even that's really, really fast for a dragon. I mean, that would make it like an 8-hour trip instead of a 4-hour trip. So, I mean, this whole scene needs to take place in about 3 days for the distance and timing to be correct. That's all.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, distance equals rate times time, folks, is not going to change.
Yeah.
Dirt.
All right. Okay, that's the rant. We're down on number ones, Dawg.
We're down there at number one here already?
Yeah,
oh, my goodness.
This is it, guys. The last slides.
And I just came up with this yesterday, and folks, season 8 has been nominated 32 times for nominations, right? Like for most outstanding this, most outstanding that, right? To me, this was just seriously, this season got all 32 Emmy nominations. Really? These two got writing and directing nominations, really, for that. And so, I mean, again, to me, season 8 is just it's just another TV show to me as far as season 8 looked, right? I mean, compared to most of the other crap on television, yeah, it's great, but it's no Cobra Kai, right? It's
No
I mean,
way.
seriously, Cobra Kai is made from YouTube Productions, and it's done better than season 8 was. They made us wait for 2 years for this crap, right? And yeah, you can see Emilia Clarke's expressions. I'm sure everybody's seen the memes and everything, right? But yeah, these two actually got nominated. I'm going to pull up some of these nominations here just to kind of refresh my memory.
You have a chart that we can share the screen, or not really?
Um,
It's probably too late. We can't do that right now.
I don't know if actually, I wonder if I can
Let me
share
know.
it on. Oh yeah, I don't have the thing up. But just I'll go through some of them here. Okay, outstanding drama series. No. Outstanding writing for a drama series. Hell no. Seriously, outstanding writing, right? For a drama series, right? Seriously, for season 8. Okay, all right, whatever, right? No. All right. Outstanding lead actress in a drama series. Emilia Clarke as Daenerys, right? You know what? I'm okay with that because really, even as bad as what they did with Daenerys' character, and I've ripped on it quite a bit because it's just Anakin Skywalker, this was some of her best stuff, right? So I'm okay with Emilia Clarke getting a nomination sheet for all the work she's done all the way through. Yeah, she deserves that. That's fine. Outstanding lead actor in a drama series, Kit Harington. Right? Does he deserve that? I mean, he had the one monologue. He screamed at a dragon. I think this was more of a culmination of maybe throughout the entire years here that he got nominated for this, right? But no, right? Outstanding supporting actor, Alfie Allen, maybe, right? They gave one to Nikolai Coster-Waldau, well, the Jamie guy. I can't pronounce his name right. So Jamie Lannister got nominated for also. Peter Dinklage gets nominated. Whatever. Gwendolyn Christie as Brienne got nominated. Just lost you on the screen there, Mil. Oh, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There.
Lena Headey as Cersei Lannister for supporting actress this year. At least they put her in the supporting actress role because she was barely in it, right? She was just basically looking out a window, but they got her in for the support role here, right? Were you able to pull that up there, Mil?
Yep.
Oh,
I got
awesome.
it.
Okay, yeah. I think I'm on Lena Headey here, folks. If folks want to, I just made this yesterday real quickly. And this is where I was shocked because, again, I hate this season almost more than The Last Jedi. I have to say that, right? And for it to get 32 nominations just shocked the hell out of me, right? Here we go. Outstanding supporting actress in a drama series, Sophie Turner. Really? For Sansa Stark, got it. Okay. Dark Phoenix, okay. All right, yeah. Okay. Maisie Williams because she's Batman, right? And
Of
Maisie
course
did
she's-
okay, but it wasn't. We've seen better from her in other seasons. Hell, I think she was better when she was like with Tywin Lannister, in the Harrenhal Tower, right?
Yeah.
Carice Van Houten, the Fire Lady, right? For a guest actress. She's been on the show before. She's not really a guest. I don't get. I guess it seems like a lot of these are filled in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding casting. I'm okay with that. They've always done great for casting. That's fine. Main title design, whatever. Stunt coordination. They had to have somebody stunt for Sam for his all the time. It's all Sam does. Ed. Oh, he didn't even tell Ed to look out, right? Outstanding fantasy sci-fi costumes. Well, there's a gimme category there, right? Special visual effects. We couldn't even see episode 3. So how are you in this, right? Creative achievement and interactive media within a scripted program, whatever the hell that is, right? Cinematography, of course, they're going to get that.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go, right here, folks, right here. Outstanding directing for a drama series, The Iron Throne. The worst episode in the history of Game of Thrones actually got nominated for an Emmy, directed by David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, right? So these two clowns, and I'm going to call them clowns because that's what they are, clowns, right? They got nominated for the greatest award that you could possibly get for a director on television, right? These two clowns did, right? The Last of the Starks. What a terrible episode that was, too, right? And that's nominated here. Right, The Long Night, the episode that we can't even see, and a great director, by the way. And I wish Miguel Sapochnik well. I hope his Conan the Barbarian series does well. Here we go. More camera picture editing. Camera picture editing for the Iron Throne. The Iron. I was thinking of the other one. Okay, I'll give that one. The Long Night. Anything with the Long Night and camera stuff. Get out of here with that. Just get out of here with that. Just give it up. Right. So, but again, this just it might be that television is so poor right now that the stuff on television is so crap right now that this stuff just might take it over. Right. And what else? Where are we at here?
Hey, hairstyling, that's important. Number 27.
Hairstyling, makeup, whatever. And then these other whatever, right? But
music.
I mean, 32 freaking nominations for the worst season in the history of the show, as far as I'm concerned, right? It took them 2 years, right, to show us Tyrion walking, basically, and to give Bran the Iron Throne or whatever, right? It was a crap season, a crap way to end the thing. I am done with my rant, Milt.
Yeah, and if you just look through this list, okay, I mean, and if you just disregard like all the all the less known kind of awards, like hairstyling, right, for single camera series and makeup and that kind of stuff. What I'm looking for is like like the power awards, right, like the outstanding lead actor, okay, and I'm going, where is Peter Dinklage? Why is he a supporting actor, not the lead actor? He had a lot more lines than Jon Snow, who was actually nominated for an outstanding lead actor, and the only thing he did in the whole season was basically scream at a dragon.
That's it.
So he was basically nominated for basically screaming at a dragon. How well he screamed at a dragon, essentially.
And I don't even watch other programs, Milt, but I just have a feeling that there's some other actor out there that deserves it more.
I mean, in terms of the show, there's another actor in the show that deserved outstanding lead actor, and that was Tyrion, because Tyrion had a lot more lines. I mean, he was pretty much the main male actor in the entire season. Tyrion had the most lines the entire season, right? I mean, he was actually the focus. He appeared in every single episode. I mean, he was so.
I can't argue against that.
Yeah, so that kind of basically puzzled me a little bit. Outstanding drama series, it's still a great series, so I don't think that's a bad nomination. The writing, that's man. But anyway, yeah. But but if you take the writing aspect, of Game of Thrones and put it in context of everything else that's on TV right now, maybe it does maybe it is the cream of the crop. I mean, I don't watch much TV. I can't say one way or another. But yeah.
Right when we decided, I started working on my slide yesterday, and I was like, I haven't checked out any Game of Thrones news lately. And I just came across this. I was like, 32 nominations? Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is my number one. I was in absolute shock at seeing 32 nominations for this season. Now, I think that it's deserved 32 nominations in prior seasons, of course, right? But I'm like, man, either the stuff on television right now is so bad, or this is just a, hey, thank you for all the seasons prior to, but there is no way that this season is anything close to what we'd gotten in the previous seasons. I will shut up with that.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly surprising that they had that many. Okay. I'm looking at the lead actresses and lead actors and supporting actors and actresses, and I mean, even a guest actress. They're up for a lot of awards. So, but it's the last season, so maybe there's some sentimentality amongst the voters involved as well here. So I'm going to get rid of that. We don't need that guy anymore. And let's just get back into our stream here and a regular slideshow. And that was Dawg's number one. And my number one, I don't have a troll slide as usual. Okay, here. Normally I have a troll slide. I hate to disappoint you guys, but I don't have a troll slide. So I'm just gonna say what my number one thing is beef about Game of Thrones, and it revolves around Arya Stark, aka Wolverine. And in terms of a particular moment, it's essentially what happened in season 6, okay, in Bravos. How can Arya Stark, okay, I talked about this before, like my Ray Night streams and all sorts of crazy streams, about how can Arya Stark survive a twisting knife in the gut, okay, basically, and still remain conscious, run away, jump off the bridge into a filthy canal. Okay, guys, you don't know how filthy middle-aged canals were, okay? And we're living in pretty much the equivalent of the Middle Ages here in terms of technology. These things were like cesspools, man. Okay, they're filled with filth. People just pouring all their waste into it. Somehow manages to stave off infection, right? And consciously remains conscious and walks into the where the actors are, and finds Lady Crane, who happens to give her some magic milk with the poppy, okay, and basically tells her about what's west of Westeros, because that's Arya. And then with 12 hours of sleep, okay, and I'm being conservative here by saying 12 hours. It was more like probably 6 or 5 hours. But with 12 hours of sleep, starts jumping off of buildings and doing parkour the next day. How is this possible? How can anybody that's been stabbed in the gut, okay, basically, with a twisting knife? I mean, that is a 99% lethal wound, okay, a twisting knife in the gut, guys, okay, okay, and then all of a sudden be able to do parkour the next day. I mean, she has special powers, okay? She is Wolverine. Wolverine's the mutant in the X-Men that can basically regenerate, has a superhuman accelerate, a superhuman healing factor. They can just heal anything, wounds very, very quickly. She is Wolverine. And this was the moment where the show actually jumped the shark for me a bit in terms of, okay, this is becoming like normal TV now.
Have to absolutely agree with you here, Mel. This and what it reminds me of with this new Star Wars stuff with Rey, right? They call her Mary Sue, right? Because she always wins, right? She always does the right thing. She's superwoman, right? Brains, all that stuff, right? She hasn't earned it at all, right? She just all of a sudden she picks up a lightsaber. She's better than Luke Skywalker with it, right? She can do everything better than everybody, basically, right? But Arya is just a little different than Rey, because she actually did work to get to where to be like Superman or whatever, right? She went through training and some trials, tribulations, things like that. But at the same time, they just made her so overpowered.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, you had to revamp your raid night, even.
Yeah. She's my team.
Right. It's like
7 people. So 7 Aryas can basically beat everybody in a raid night in a video game.
Absolutely.
But DA saying that in a world of dragons, I think somebody running, doing parkour after a twisting knife attack, okay, is improbable. Okay, I get the fantasy aspect, guys. Okay, there's dragons, okay, fine, and magic, fine, okay. But remember, at the end of the day, these people are still humans, right? Okay, as depicted. Okay, they're not superhumans. They're not aliens. Okay, they're still humans with human flaws and human thinking. Okay, so you have to assume that they still have the same human physical limitations. Okay, and then the fantasy part, the dragons, are just something completely different. Okay, so they're totally disconnected. So anyway, that to me was pretty much the moment for me. That basically
it feels like
the show jumped the shark.
Like her character was so popular that they were just like, Arya's gonna do everything from here on out because the fans are gonna love us because Arya's doing it. We're gonna put Arya with a horsey at the end of episode 5 because it's Arya with a horsey, right? We'll have Arya kill the Night King because it's Arya. we're gonna have Arya do this because it's Arya, right? And everybody loves Arya, so Arya does it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're guilty of here.
I think they. I think again, we're getting controversial here, right, in terms of Hollywood politics and whatever, right? Because they really, it was really disappointing in the sense that how they built up Jon Snow as the hero, right, in the entire series for 7 seasons, and then the final season he didn't do squat, he didn't do anything of importance. I thought that was a big disservice to his character, but yet they raised Arya and Bran, up on pedestals at the end. Was it because everybody just loves the Starks, and that's why they had to do it? Because Jon's a Stark as well as a Targaryen, right? He's both. So, I don't know. I think that was very inconsistent. I think that was a very, it was a very puzzling and confusing direction that the writing team went at towards the end.
And it was just even more puzzling that it took them 2 years to release it.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah. Anyway, that's very depressing, and I think this, to me at least, this was the moment where it became just craziness, right? Because now you have a human exceeding normal physical and human limitations. Okay. Again, dragons and stuff like that and magic are totally disconnected from from this scene here. Okay.
And now, when they introduce something like that, it's like you expect them to be able to do that at any time, right? So when they can't do that, it's
they
in the muddy waters, if you will.
Yeah, they basically she's basically become a superwoman, a superhuman at this point.
She's a little overpowered.
Yeah. Anyway,
holy moly.
Holy moly. And that is it, guys, for our stream. But before we go, we'll just go ahead and summarize our top 10s.
Thanks
WTFs.
for this, though. It was a long one, but we got through it.
Yep.
Folks, my number one was basically a culmination of the whole entire season, getting nominated for 32 nominations for Emmys. I'm still in shock. I just found this news out kind of yesterday, but seriously, 32 nominations for season 8. That shocked me. Number 2 was it's time for the Jedi to end. Basically, how the story ended for Jon Snow, right? Was I thought was just poorly done. My number 3 was the Bells episode, which I called that moment was Execute Order 66. When the bells went off and Dany turned into Anakin Skywalker, or she turned into Darth Vader at that point and killed all the younglings. Number 4 was Because I'm Batman, where Arya takes out the Night King because she's Arya for reasons we just discussed prior to, and just poorly executed. Number 5 was the death of Dany, which I called the death of Darth Vader, the death of Anakin Skywalker 2019. So just another poorly executed, just poor writing. Number 6 was Professor X. Bran takes the Iron Throne, the most intriguing story, I guess, according to Tyrion. He gets the throne because he has the most intriguing story, whatever. I could look at this freaking phone or whatever, and that's more intriguing. This Mountain Dew is more intriguing than Bran. Okay.
You know what? I think that picture of the potato that you had in one of those videos that you made, I think that was more intriguing.
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely more intriguing than Bran. I'm going to make another potato video now. You mentioned that. It's more intriguing than Bran. Number 7, I have the brick that was promised, right? One of the greatest villains, or what we thought was one of the greatest villains in television history, defeated by a brick, right? And so by Cersei and Jaime. And number 8, I had Jason Voorhees, the Mountain, versus Sandor Clegane, and one of the most cheesiest endings for a favorite character, where they kind of jumped, they jumped the shark in that scene too, and they went slasher film. right, in WWE, right? If you smell what the mountain's cooking, I guess. Number 9, I call. I think I finally got out of season 8 there. Wow, I had 8 things that were season 8. And number 9, I had Ario Crumbum, Ario Hota, the most overhyped badass, if you will, right? I mean, he was so badass. We heard so many wonderful things about how great he was going to be. And he was defeated by a letter opener, right? I think we said 1.5 seconds was his knockout time. And then TK421, why aren't you at your post? TK421, do you copy? And they got a bad transmitter down there. And that's the scene when Jamie and Bronn dress up like stormtroopers to save Princess Marcella. And folks, that is my top 10 WTF. What the freak just happened.
All right. Okay, and my top 10 WTF as in bad moments. Okay, starts with the worst salesman of all time, or worst businessman of all time, and that's Krasny's Mo Naklaws of Astapor. Man, what a dummy for selling the insulted to Daenerys. Number 9 is the nerfing of 1-1. Number 8 is the Night of the Living Dead in the Crypts of Winterfell during the long night. And boy, was it like the Night of the Living Dead with dust and bones somehow, breaking through solid stone coffins. Number 7 was the entire episode of Mother's Mercy, Season 5, Episode 10. Okay, too many to list, but 2 words for everybody. Bad pussy. Number 6 was lifting bricks, and where can I find the Targaryen contracting company that partially excavated all those bricks so Tyrion can walk in there, lift 3 bricks, and actually find his brother and sister after the whole building basically fell on top of Jaime and Cersei. Number 5, basically the conquest of Dorne. How the hell did Ellaria Sand become the leader of Dorne? 20,000 square mile region of Westeros, and somehow she becomes the head of Dorne with no protest from the other houses there. Number 4, Cersei really needed those war elephants, but because they could have made a difference, because evidently the 20,000 Golden Company's men couldn't fight worth a darn. But we only saw 500 of them, so where did the other 19,500 Golden Company soldiers go? Number 3, the Ghost Army of the Vale. Okay, spent time there. How can a 1,000-man Vale army full of heavy armor and horses trample through the north, okay, controlled by the Boltons, Umbers, and Karstarks, without being detected and surprise everybody at the Battle of the Bastards? Number 2 was to rescue the White Hunters. Boy, you need those really, really fast ravens to basically traverse those 1,900 miles from the Wall to Dragonstone and back, okay, to rescue our intrepid White Hunters. And number 1, come on, Arya Stark, aka Wolverine. And look at those shoes. I mean, that's the shoes that she must have used to basically jump and attack the Night King with.
I'm still laughing at that picture.
And there you go. Come on, right? I mean, come on, think about it. If you had those shoes, you could probably jump that high, right, to kill the Night King.
That's great.
All right.
All right.
Woo! And that is it, everybody. Thanks a lot for coming out. I know it was a long stream. Wow, this is one of the longest streams that we've done. Almost 3 hours worth of ranting. And man, Dawg, any last words you want to say?
Oh man, I hated season 8, and I hate you, Ed Sheeran. I hate you. I hate you so much. And oh my god, and I hate season 8. I hate Ed Sheeran, and I hate season 8. And yeah, And oh yeah, one last final thing. Though, if you Star Wars fans out there think that Dan and Dave are going to come out here and save Star Wars, guess again. Guess again, folks. It's going to be trash, and it's going to be hot garbage on fire trash. That's what's coming to Star Wars. If you think that Dan and Dave are going to save it, I've got news for you. That is Dogs. I have foreseen it.
I mean, if Dan and Dave can adapt a story from the Star Wars EU, I wouldn't feel that bad, okay? Because they did a pretty good job of adapting, like up through Storm of Swords with seasons 1 to 4. Okay, so I wouldn't feel as bad about them. Okay, if they adapted somebody else's story. Now, if they had to actually write a story, an original story, yeah, I think that's when we're gonna have to be really, really worried about the future of Star Wars here a bit. Uh, you know, it was a great ride. It was a great run. I don't think we're gonna actually do another Game of Thrones stream probably after this one. Or if we do, it'll be like a really hokey, you know,
Oh yeah, we'll have some
fun
fun.
one. We're have some fun about it. We have fun all the time, but I don't know what else we can do. With Game of Thrones, not that everything's over. And the books aren't out yet, but we really can't stream books because we like to have funny pictures on screen. So, but nevertheless, it's it's still probably the best show on TV.
Oh
Right?
right,
It's
yeah.
still,
There's some crap on television. Let me tell you.
yeah.
Right? I mean, the production value, of course, is great. Other than what I talked about, like with with episode 3, of course, right, where you can't see stuff. But other than that, everything else looks beautiful. They'll get awards for cinematography and things of that nature. It's still,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, when this show is at a 1, it's still better than probably 90% of all the other crap that's on television.
Exactly. I mean, seasons 1 through 4 really set the bar very, very high. Okay, and I think from then on, we were getting closer and closer to the norm. I think season 8 pretty much hit the norm. Wouldn't you say, Dog, or went a little bit below the norm in some parts, but it finally hit the norm. Okay, after four
Right.
years, so that's not bad. Um, you know, don't everybody don't take this seriously. Obviously, we're having fun tonight, so this is just our kind of like our opinions. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's wrong. But it just means it's just our opinion. So
All right.
and yeah. So what else is going on, Dog, in your channel before we sign off?
Oh yeah, I just started up the new dog show, so same channel name, folks, but same ideas. I'm tinkering around with some ideas, working on doing the Dog Days of History, kind of doing a different format with my old Dog Days of History. So I do plan on doing some box office news here, probably either tomorrow or Tuesday. And I also want to do another. OG was asking me to do some opinions on what I think is going to be coming up for Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. So please look forward to that this week. So probably some box office news and possibly a Star Wars video or some info on what Dog thinks about Star Wars, and then I'm going to try to do a Dog Days of History daily. So I've been kind of tweaking around with the format a little bit. So did my first, well, actually it was kind of my second one today. So if you want to check that out, let me know how you like that format, and I will keep doing it. So thanks for having me, Milt, and thanks for sticking around with us here tonight, folks. It was a long one, so a lot of
Yeah.
fun. Great event.
Awesome. So thanks a lot, Dog, as usual, for stopping by. And again, you can always see me. I'm either posting videos on this channel that you're on right now, the Westeros Ninja, or I'll be on the Citadel Trivia hosting Jeopardy. So that reminds me, this Friday evening at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, I will be on with Felicia, and we will be doing Jeopardy trivia, and our topic will probably be randomness. So some more randomness. So and that is pretty much it. So without further ado, thanks again for everybody for stopping on by, and hope everybody had fun this was definitely a long stream, and we will see y'all next time. Out.
I'm not going to stop the wheel. I'm going to break the wheel.
Ultra Ninja JK, dupla, jinxa, bota, chakra em cada linha de faca. Face, macramé no micado, base, espadas por frases. Sintático, repara no que digo, é paradigmático, não tenho paralelo, sou para lado mágico. Sabes como rolo, martelo pneumático, técnica secreta do monstro roxo. Estamos a meter-nos no dojo, estamos a manter comos no jogo, só com uma espada nos tojos. Plano picado, não sabes de onde esta ave vem. Nenhum radar pode detectar onde está a nave, mãe, tu sabes bem. Somos a clique, somos o clã. É Monster Jinx cabrão, respeito ao vais comer tartan. Na terra do nunca não digo banzai. Vivo na espelunca e tenho um bonsai. Ninja que é ninja, ninja, frotas imperiais. E bate mal, logo bate mais. A minha crew não sem espelhos. Na rua, dragão azul, dragão vermelho. Sento o silêncio. Verso shinobi, nunca me canso. Sou de Nairobi, ágil como um ninja. Rápido como um ninja, letal como um ninja. Brutal como um ninja, fatal como um ninja. Forte como um ninja, secreto como um ninja. Deve mesmo ser um ninja.
Esta é para os meus ninjas, só para os meus ninjas. Onde é que estão os meus ninjas? Ninjas, 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 ninjas. Esta é para os meus ninjas, só para os meus ninjas. Onde é que estão os meus